Li Longji's expression turned ugly as he spoke, as if he thought that Wang Bei and the others wouldn't understand his intentions. Furthermore, they were hinting at him through their actions, asking him to remove Zhang Zhong from the position of Minister of Works, even if it was another minister. The problem is that Your Majesty doesn't need to be balanced against Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. This subject has discovered that they are also ambitious. The difference is that their ambitions are not in the imperial court, but outside. They want to use all sorts of methods to seize more land and resources so that the common people of our dynasty can live better lives. According to their psychology, this is the path that they use to realize their personal worth. This subject feels that the imperial court and even imperial authority are too small for them, and they aren't willing to tie themselves to the court and play with the world. Gao Lisher was even more disgusted by Wang Bei and the others. It was easy to remove Zhang Zhong, but difficult to replace him. Xiao Bao had said long ago that they needed to take control of the Great Tang's industries and build a powerful Great Tang heavy industry. If Zhang Zhong wasn't given the position of Minister of Works, Xiao Bao would definitely have split the research institute and not allowed anyone else to interfere. But it was clear that Wang Bei and the others wanted to seize the research institute. How could that be possible? Let alone Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, even His Majesty wouldn't agree. Only by placing the research institute in the hands of Xiao Bao and the others would His Majesty be at ease. He wouldn't have to worry about the speed of development or the problem of confidentiality. Thus, we intend to adjust Wang Bei's position. What does Minister think? Li Longji asked. This subject believes that it cannot be done. Wang Bei has done very well in the Bureau of Revenue. If it were someone else, they would have made many mistakes. He's sad because he can't find a good way to allocate money. If it's Xiao Bao, he's sad because he's afraid that his orders will be issued too slowly and the people will suffer. These are two different things. One is sad because he can't do anything, and the other is worried because he's afraid that his actions will be implemented too slowly for the people affected by the disaster. This is so infuriating. If we were Xiao Bao, we'd teach him a lesson. Li Longji muttered a bunch of things under his breath as he rubbed his chest with his hand. It seemed that he was really angry. Gao Lisher hurriedly comforted him, Your Majesty, calm down. It's not worth it. Wang Bei can't do anything about Xiao Bao. The censorate wants to impeach him, but they don't dare. Not to mention them, even if Wei Jing was alive, he would also have to remain silent. Just as Your Majesty said, Xiao Bao has already taken revenge on Wang Bei. Otherwise, with Xiao Bao's ability, how could the new company not be able to make money? When it comes to making ends meet, it's also a skill. Even if you investigate carefully, you won't find any problems. Xiao Bao can't go too far. You heard it that day. Wang Bei shouted that Xiao Bao promised not to do anything to the people in the country, but he played tricks on them. If they really lost money, they'll cry even louder. The main thing is that Xiao Bao promised Cuckoo that he won't use his ability to harm his own people. Otherwise, look at Tibet in the past, as well as Xinhua and Japan now. When Xiao Bao was against them, he really invaded them like fire. Your Majesty, don't be fooled by Wang Bei's loud voice. He's actually afraid. He thought that Xiao Bao is gentle and kind to the country, but he forgot that Xiao Bao is a vengeful person. Your Majesty, look, we've arrived at the Yin and Yang Palace. According to your instructions, we'll build a 3-story building here and make some space to build a fountain. We'll raise ornamental fish in the pond and transport local water plants from Hangzhou. It'll definitely be a grand scene in summer. Li Longji looked at the busy people at the construction site and nodded in satisfaction. Then, he said, in the past, when I wanted to build the palace, the ministers always stopped me. Now that I'm building it, who dares to say anything? If it weren't for Xiao Bao making money for me, not to mention building a 3-story building, I would have been controlled by others. Gao Lisher could tell that Her Majesty's mind was filled with Xiaobao's goodness. No matter what was said, no matter what topic was brought up, Her Majesty would definitely think of Xiaobao first. After Li Longji finished speaking, he looked around the Yin and Yang palace and did not give any instructions to the construction team. This was because the construction team here was from the Xinjiang construction group. No matter if it was safety, technology, or quality, there were no problems. What made Li Longji depressed was that the price was very high. This was because, according to the rules set by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the charging method for the rich and powerful was different. The higher the status and the richer the family, the higher the fee would be. They were not afraid that the other party would play dirty tricks. Whoever had the guts to try it could try. As the emperor, Li Longji's fee for him was naturally the highest. Your Majesty, you don't need to worry. For the internal funds, building the palace is like a drop in the bucket. The annual interest is enough. Moreover, the money earned by the Xinjiang construction group will immediately be used in other areas, such as building bridges for the village, schools, or roadside pavilions for people to rest. Gao Lisher fanned the dust with his hand as he spoke. I know. It's just that every time I take money out, I can't control the urge to take it back because I don't know how to earn money. I'm not like Xiaobao, who doesn't feel bad about spending money because he can continue to earn. I can't even compare to Xiaobei and the rest, who don't have to pay for all the expenses at home themselves. The money earned by Darling's Candy House can be spent as they please. Furthermore, Xiaobao and Huan don't care. Li Longji murmured. At this time, Gao Lisher did not know how to respond, so he maintained his silence. Your Majesty, the Crown Prince is here. He's already inside. The sound of the construction site could not cover up the eunuch's shrill voice. A eunuch came to report the situation. Just as he finished speaking, Crown Prince Li Hong, who was originally Li Ying, walked in from outside. In theory, even the Crown Prince could not casually barge in, but Li Ying had received a telegram from Zhang Xiaobao, so he had enough confidence to enter directly. Moreover, he had also received guidance from Zhang Xiaobao, who told him that if he followed the rules too much, he would lose affection. Occasionally, he would make a small mistake to bring people closer to each other. Therefore, Li Ying chose to barge in at this time without any notice. In his hand was an item with the signatures of the manager of Savant's restaurant and the head steward of Zhangwang. Hongher, don't you have anything to do today? Li Longji did not consider the fact that his son had come without notice. This was a construction site, and it was a mess. Who would be notified? I have something to do, so I'm busy. However, Xiaobao sent me a telegram and told me something. At the same time, he asked me to bring something over. I also miss father, so I rushed over. Look, I haven't changed my clothes yet. Li Ying lifted the item in his hand and smiled at Li Longji. This casual attitude of his was faked. To be precise, it was trained. In front of the mirror, he practiced according to Zhang Xiaobao's teachings. Not only did he have to practice his expression, voice, and eyes, but he also had to cooperate with his mental cultivation method. That was, if he was strong, he would be strong. If he was tyrannical, he would be tyrannical. If he was tyrannical, he would be tyrannical. If he was tyrannical, he would be tyrannical. The kind that would not fight back and would talk cheerfully and wittily. Li Longji sized up his son and saw that his son's clothes were dyed black. Other than black, there were also yellow and red. What was the crown prince busy with before you came? Gao Lisher asked Li Longji. Li Ying was very respectful of Gao Lisher. In private, he would call him Master Gao. Of course, the respect he had for him now was slightly less, or perhaps even more. Everything was because of Zhang Xiaobao's support. Therefore, with Zhang Xiaobao's support, he did not have to pay too much attention to others. However, Zhang Xiaobao was Gao Lisher's adopted son, so he had to respect him even more. Li Ying understood Zhang Xiaobao's meaning. He did not want the country to be too unstable and affect its diplomatic relations. At the same time, he would not allow others to mistreat his adopted father. Thinking of this, Li Ying adjusted his attitude and said with a smile, "General, I went to the newly established printing workshop to see them working. The Ministry of Works Research Institute sent a new dye called ink paste or coloring agent. Anyway, that's what it is. As a result, newspapers can be printed with various colored patterns and words. Although the patterns are a little troublesome and not very accurate, they are modularized. Various small patterns are done first and then pieced together. The requirements for the printing staff are very high. Otherwise, they would not be able to piece together well." "Oh. You brought printed newspapers over." Li Longji's interest was piqued. He had just seen a remote data command map today. Now, there was a colored newspaper and some modularized patterns. Very good. Li Ying, who was already prepared, took out a few rolled-up newspapers and handed them to Li Longji with one hand. Then, he placed the things he was carrying on the ground and stood there panting. It was obvious that the things he was carrying were not light. Li Longji and Gao Lisher gathered together to read the newspaper. There were indeed patterns, but they were a little rigid. There were many different colors on the newspaper, and it was very eye-catching. The two of them then looked at the content. The headline was two large red words, "Debate." Following that was a row of small yellow words, "Strong enemies are watching. The long journey is not for the next life, but for this life. With the hot blood of Tang, who can withstand the blade of the treasured sword?" At the bottom, the author's name was written, Wang Wan. Then, there was a large picture of a warrior riding a horse and waving a blade. The background was a large flag with the word Tang. There was also a row of blurred flowery words printed diagonally on the picture, swallowing 10,000 li like a tiger. Li Longji subconsciously straightened his back, as though he was the one riding on the horse and waving the blade. Gao Lisher also gritted his teeth and took a deep breath. Li Ying said, "The boards with the picture have been sent to various places. According to the request, a copy of this newspaper will appear in all newspapers in Great Tang tomorrow morning." "Good, good. Send it out. The people know that there is going to be a war. In the past, they were also looking forward to it. Now, it has finally begun. Xiao Bao will soon bring out the administrative plan." What is the price of this newspaper?" Li Longji knew that tomorrow's newspaper was going to start promoting the war, and it was going to win the support of the people. Li Ying took out another newspaper and put it together with the previous one. "Father, it's the same as before. 1 copper coin per copy. Don't throw it away after you read it. If you collect 3 copies, you can exchange it for 2 copper coins. If you cut out the advertisement section of the newspaper, you might even be able to get a bargain of 1 copper coin." Li Longji put on a smile and said, "Lisher, do you see this? This is Xiao Bao. There are many articles written by great scholars and the policies of the imperial court. It's easy to sell it at a high price, but look at what Xiao Bao is doing. Why is he doing this? This subject knows. Xiao Bao sells many copies of each newspaper for 1 copper coin. It's not enough to cover the printing costs. But in order to let the people see it, at least their children who have studied for 2 years can read it for them, he only sells it for 1 copper coin. He also sells it for 2 copper coins for 3 copper coins. Buying 1 copy is only 1/3 of a copper coin. Xiao Bao doesn't want the people to lose the opportunity to pay attention to the country because of money, so it's very cheap. But Xiao Bao doesn't want to lose money, so he found merchants from all over to advertise. At this time, the newspaper has profits, and it's very big. In order to let the people pay attention to the advertisements in the newspaper, Xiao Bao also asked the merchants to take turns. Every day, a merchant would take out the cost of the item to sell, but they would need the piece of paper in the newspaper. Every place is different, but the same thing is that there are discounts every day. Thus, our dynasty sells many newspapers every day. This is because when the people buy it, there's no loss at all. If they need to buy a lot of things, they can even take advantage of it. Not only does it allow the people to be educated, but it also promotes the sales of goods. At the same time, it also allows our dynasty's newspaper distribution industry to earn profits. And Xiao Bao clearly can get more money from this, but he gives it up. He doesn't have any selfish motives. He's doing this for the sake of the country and the people. Gao Lisher sincerely praised, not at all affected by Xiao Bao's identity as his adopted son. General Gao is right. Xiao Bao, Li Longji said doubtfully. Li Ying quickly changed his words, Zhang Xiao Bao, Li Longji continued to question. Father, what do you want me to call him? Usually, when Xiao Bao sends me a telegram, he always ends it with Xiao Bao. I can't say Zhang Jidushi, right? Li Ying said awkwardly. Li Longji replied affirmatively this time. Li Ying heaved a sigh of relief. Even though it was just a title, it involved a lot of things. Normally, the people could casually address them as Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. However, officials were definitely not allowed to do so. They had to be addressed as officials, unless one was a retired official or an elder recognized by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. It represented a kind of closeness, a kind of relationship, and even a kind of identity and status in the bureaucracy. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo weren't that easy to address. Thus, Li Ying was allowed to address them as Xiao Bao. It wasn't easy for him to obtain this title. Revealing a sincere smile, Li Ying said, Xiao Bao has indeed done many good deeds. If they were to make a move on their own people, our great Tang would be in danger. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are trying to make their own families rich first before helping us. I discovered something, and that is, the more power they have, the better the lives of our people. Many officials come from rich families and are businessmen. The people are jealous, helpless, and resentful. But when I go out for a stroll, I've never heard any of the people say anything bad about Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Could it be that they don't have money? They are truly rich enough to rival a country. Xiao Bao has restrained himself, but he still earns hundreds of millions of strings of cash every year. He has already stopped expanding the businesses of the Zhang family in Great Tang, but the people who work with them are expanding, so their money will only increase. If the bearings didn't meet the standards, it was just that their hardness wasn't good enough, and the curvature of the balls wasn't accurate enough. This was within the scope of industry. Rain was different. Tell me, how did it rain in Luzhou? Li Longji grasped the crux of the problem. Firing cannons. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had people fire cannons at Qinzhou, which is in front of Luzhou. They fired at the clouds, and when the clouds flew to Luzhou, it started to rain. It's very simple. It just needs to rumble for a while. Li Ying's eyes occasionally signaled to Li Longji to look at the things he had brought over. Li Longji no longer cared about his dignity as an emperor. He walked over to Li Ying and slapped him on the head. Are you stupid? This is rain, not a simple method of burning firewood to resist frost. Do you think I don't know how to fire cannons? The problem is, what are they firing? You don't think it's the cannons we're using now, do you? That'll kill people. What exactly did the research institute send up? Li Ying finally reacted and shook his head. I don't know. I only heard that Li Sun sent a signal to Xiao Bao for help. Xiao Bao sent back several orders in succession, and thus the disaster in Luzhou was resolved. Father, don't you think Xiao Bao is amazing? Do I need you to tell me whether Xiao Bao is amazing or not? Go to the research institute and ask. Oh, go greet Zhang Zhong first. Although you're the crown prince, you can't directly enter. If you're stopped at the entrance, you'll be embarrassed. Zhang Zhong will also think that you have something against it. Li Longji instructed. Yes, this son understands. If you provoke Zhang Zhong, you'll be miserable. If you scold Xiao Bao, he might ignore you. But if you scold his father, then it's over. Li Ying understood very well. Li Longji lowered his head and finally turned his attention to the thing his son brought. He asked, "What is this?" A large pressure cooker. There's a wild boar's elbow and hind elbow stewing inside. In less than an hour, the meat has already been separated from the bone. It's suitable for use in highlands, Li Ying replied. Li Longji asked curiously, "It's so magical?" This is good stuff. Let's set up a project. Father, there's no need to set up a project. This is a byproduct of the steam engine. Li Ying smiled and introduced. Chapter 12:11. Oh, I've heard of it before. It has always been used in Tibet. Why did you bring it here today? Li Longji pondered for a moment and realized that he had never seen such a thing before. Thus, he wasn't sure why his son brought it here. Li Ying took a sniff. The pork shoulder in the pot smelled very fragrant and replied, "This pressure cooker is different from the ones in the past. It uses electricity. Other than the pressure cooker, there's also an electric rice cooker. I intend to promote this in the capital." In the past, the Ministry of Works produced more electricity than the demand, and they required a lot of firewood and coal every day. It was very difficult to transport and clean them. Li Longji suddenly understood. He couldn't possibly check on the sanitation of the capital in the morning, such as the empty chamber pot and the leftovers from the previous day. Thinking about it, the people around wouldn't feel good if there wasn't a car passing by. Nodding his head, Li Longji praised, "My son is able to think of working for the welfare of the people in the capital. I'll keep the pork shoulder. What else do you want?" "I still want to manage a project," Li Ying said nervously. He was afraid that he would be rejected by his father if he went to earn money as the crown prince. Li Longji didn't say anything. When he was talking about power, his son said that it wasn't necessary. Now, he wants a project. What project is it? I've discussed with my brothers and sisters. We intend to sell the pressure cooker and electric rice cooker to Japan so that the people in Japan can enjoy life together with the people in Great Tang. Li Ying had learned how to do things under the banner of world peace. Li Longji frowned. He knew that if he wanted to use electrical appliances, he had to have some first. It was only because the Ministry of Works had built a few power generators that the people in the capital could use. However, the power generation technology wasn't perfect yet. The power generators in the Ministry of Works were built with money and couldn't be popularized. Otherwise, they would have been sent to various places for the people in Great Tang to enjoy. In Japan, would they use thermal power, hydraulic power, or wind power? Would the technology be learned by the Japanese? This probably wouldn't happen. Even if the Japanese were to take a closer look and didn't understand the principles, they wouldn't follow suit. Furthermore, without the foundation of the industry, they wouldn't be able to produce the parts. Could it be that the power generation technology can be popularized? Li Longji asked. Li Ying shook his head vigorously. No, only small hydroelectric generators can be tested in various places. What I want to use is thermal power. I will help the Japanese build a few more thermal power plants, and I will only take the cost. Send a batch of rice cookers, pressure cookers, and light bulbs to them at the beginning. When they use them, sell them for money. Hearing his son's words, Li Longji was even more perplexed. Gao Lishur was also perplexed, and he asked, if you can build a power plant elsewhere, why don't you build one in our great Tang so that the common folk can enjoy it as well? That's because the new thermal power plant at the Ministry of Works is a big plant. It generates a lot of electricity. The blueprints have just been designed, and the components are about to be produced. They haven't been assembled. There were two problems involved. One was that when burning coal, there was too much ash. They had not thought of a solution yet, and the burning was not enough. The other problem is that the performance is not stable. The transformer is easy to burn, and at the same time, it is easy to blow up the furnace. Li Ying explained. It seemed that he had thought of this idea after going to the Ministry of Works. Li Longji and Gao Lishur suddenly realized that the Li Ying in front of them was no longer the same as before. At the very least, he now knew how to scheme against others. What he had just said was definitely not his final objective. There had to be a deeper reason behind it. Harumphing coldly, Li Longji asked with a dark expression, "Tell me the truth, what are you all trying to do? Why aren't you all obediently staying in your own territories and insisting on interfering with business and administration? Don't tell me that you're thinking of harming the common folk for your own benefits." "Father, who would dare to do that? It was Xiao Bao who supported us to come out and do this. Their fief is already on the verge of collapsing, and the money provided by the fief can't compare to what they earn by doing things themselves. They intend to return their fief to the royal court and take a sum of money to learn while doing things. This way, the common folk won't always call them vermin behind their backs. As the crown prince, it's natural for me to take the lead. I don't feel comfortable relying on the royal court for money. What others can do, we of the royal family can do as well. In the past, I thought that there was only so much wealth for geniuses. If we were to compete with the common folk when doing business, I now know that the world is vast, and wealth can be created." Li Ying found a reason. In truth, it was because Zhang Xiaobao wanted them to take back their fief and gradually take back the land of others. This was to avoid land annexation and make it easier to control the agricultural production and infrastructure in the country. In the future, the surrounding areas would be colonized. They wouldn't be sending people far away all at once, as that would result in the gradual independence of the various regions. Right now, they were gradually sending people to the neighboring regions and providing them with land tax relief. In the future, when transportation and communications were more developed, they would be able to colonize even further places, such as the various large islands. At that time, as long as the Central Army controlled them well and didn't make the difference in income between the various regions too great, the other regions wouldn't be able to become independent. Li Ying's words were very moving, but Li Longji and Gao Lishur were unmoved. They continued to look at Li Ying, waiting for him to explain further. Fine, actually, how should I put it? We feel that we should quickly bring Japan into our Great Tang's territory and add fuel to the fire. After some research, we realized that Japan will be very happy if we build power plants there. Then, we'll send many polluting departments that require electricity there, polluting Japan. Furthermore, Japan lacks natural resources, so the coal needed for power plants has to be transported from our Great Tang. Shouldn't we build roads? Shouldn't they spend money to buy coal? Shouldn't we build more fleets? Shouldn't their electrical appliances break down quickly when the voltage isn't stable? In order to squeeze every last bit of profit out of Japan, we'll start by changing their living habits. When they rely on our Great Tang for their daily lives, that will be the time when their regime will be wiped out. Li Ying revealed his ambitions. Personally sending an entire dynasty to the execution ground was a very meaningful matter. Aren't you afraid that after they learn more in the future, we'll take a liking to their capabilities and change the crown prince? Li Longji tried to scare Li Ying. Unexpectedly, Li Ying chuckled nonchalantly. Looking at Li Longji and Gao Lishir, Li Ying said confidently, "While they're learning, your son is also learning. Furthermore, they've hinted to your son that they don't want to be the emperor. In the past, you don't have much contact with the outside world, so you feel that authority in the royal court is very important. Now, you know more, and there's still a large area overseas that you haven't conquered. Instead of staying in the palace, you might as well think of ways to go out and help Great Tang conquer more land and educate more people. Targeting Japan is our first attempt. After we succeed, they'll want to go out. Some will travel by land, and some will take ships. They'll bring many people and guards with them, as well as Great Tang's products. They'll go out and have a look. They'll set up trading companies and realize the value of their lives just like Xiao Bao and the others." When Li Ying spoke, his eyes were filled with yearning. It was as though he wanted to go out and see how exciting the world was. In the past, he wanted to be the emperor so badly that he went crazy. Then, he saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Even if the two of them didn't become the emperor, they still held a lot of power and could roam the world. Moreover, the sea merchants from Luzhou to the capital had also said that the outside world was huge, and the land was filled with uneducated people. The land outside was fertile, the trees were tall, there were animals that had never been seen in the capital, and there were delicious fish in the sea. There were countless mineral deposits. As long as a few pieces of porcelain, silk, and delicious seasonings were shipped over, the locals would even help the merchants mine the ores. A set of porcelain bowls and plates that were only worth 5 copper coins in the Great Tang could be exchanged for a ship full of cedar. In truth, that set of porcelain wasn't bought from the locals, but from the locals. According to Zhang Xiaobao's words, this was an era of gold everywhere. Go out and help the people of other places obtain better living conditions, help them enjoy life, and then bring back the valuable things for the people of Great Tang to enjoy. If he were the emperor, he would at most travel around the Great Tang, and he would have to listen to the advice of his officials. That was far too boring. Li Longji was surprised. He hadn't expected his children to have reached an agreement in private. Xiao Bao had probably instigated and tempted them a lot. But he was right. With the current technology and weapons of the Great Tang, there was no danger in going out unless one fell ill. In the outside world, there were far fewer restrictions. They could do as they pleased, and the capital of Great Tang couldn't send specific orders. If they were tired, they could come back and enjoy themselves for a few days before going out again. If they stayed in a certain place for too long, the Great Tang would send people to take them back, and they could move on to the next place. They could treat the process of fighting for territory and resources as a vacation. They could realize the value of life, enjoy the fruits of their labor, and create wealth. We permit it. You can go and play, but you are not allowed to make yourselves kings in the future. Otherwise, it's hard to say who will rule that place in a few generations. This is precisely why Xiao Bao doesn't support colonizing the islands. Li Longji felt that it was a good idea to let his children go out and fight for territory, so he nodded in agreement. Li Ying happily left to make arrangements for the Japanese. Turning back, Li Longji said to Gao Lishir with the same yearning, "In truth, we also want to go to the places where there are koalas. Koalas are too delicate, and we need to transport fresh eucalyptus leaves from Luzhou. Fortunately, we transplanted a lot of them, or else the koalas would have starved to death in the capital. The daily heating fee for these animals who are afraid of the cold is not a small sum. Fortunately, the children who come to the capital and live in the capital like them, especially the koalas." Lishir, I remember that a few days ago, there was a koala that seemed to be sick, but the people in the medical academy couldn't tell what was wrong with it. They just said that it was very listless and not lively. Has it been cured? Your Majesty, it has been cured. The people in the zoo sent Xiao Bao a message. After Xiao Bao asked clearly, he asked someone to carry the koala, and it was cured. Because the color under the koala's eyes is not pretty, no one usually carries it, and it fell sick. Gao Lisha replied. Li Longji could not help but laugh. So it's true. That little thing can fall sick because no one carries it. This is the first time I've heard of this. Sai, Xiao Bao and the others are really knowledgeable. Ask someone to tell the people in the zoo to put makeup on the koala to make it cuter so that people can carry it. Yes, Your Majesty is very thoughtful. Koalas are very cute. Sometimes, when they sit on the tree, they look like pandas. They look like they have been wronged. The only difference is that pandas are very fierce. The zoo in Baoxin County earns more than the zoo in the capital. The monthly profit of the zoo in the capital is very small, but the zoo in Baoxin County can provide a profit of 1,000 strings of coins. The zoo in Baoxin County earns more than that. Speaking of the zoo, Gao Lisha thought of Baoxin County, the place where Xiao Bao and Cuckoo first became officials. Li Longji had almost forgotten about that county. When he heard Gao Lisha mention it, he asked, "What's the situation there now?" Don't tell me that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo left and the new officials ruined the good things they left behind. Your Majesty, do you think anyone would dare to do that? Baoxin County paid a lot of rent taxes last year. Excluding the counties in Luzhou, Baoxin County in Great Tang ranked 9th in rent taxes. This was a result that no one dared to dream of in the past. The local officials are the same as the Sanshui County. They have to post a notice before they start their administration. The monthly income of the county, where it comes from, how much it can be used by the county, and how they plan to spend it next month. Everything has to be made known to the people. If there's something they don't understand, they have to explain it to them. If the people agree, the money can be used according to the plan. If the people don't agree, the plan can only be changed. If they want to enforce it, it's the end of the official's term. Gao Lisha seemed to have a thorough understanding of the situation. Good, very good. I'm very happy. However, it's still difficult to promote it to all parts of Great Tang. Not all the people have developed the habit of participating in politics. If there's an unreasonable demand, the decree can't be implemented. Education, everything still depends on education. In the future, each state will have its own newspaper. Do according to Xiao Bao's method, and don't sell it too expensive. Also, set up reading boards in crowded places and put up newspapers for the people to read for free. Now, it's usually read by people who attend night school or children who have studied to a certain level. In the future, when the people hear more, they will naturally recognize the words on the newspapers. Li Longji really wanted to implement the matter of the people participating in politics everywhere. That way, the local government would make fewer mistakes and not waste money. Gao Lisha noted it down so that he could urge others to do it. Moreover, he had to control the local newspapers and not write anything casually. Another 3 days passed. Xiao Bei and the others had already sent the cement to Weizhou and helped Wenshan County find interested merchants. In a few days, the merchants would personally go to Wenshan County to take a look at the output and transportation situation. Xiao Bei and the others stayed in Weizhou for a day and took a nice bath. Because they were running around outside, they didn't even have the chance to take a bath. The group set off for Idyll at dawn to catch up with their brother and sister. Just as they left the city and walked less than 5 li, a horse came from the side of the road. The person on the horse looked very tired. When she saw Xiaobei's group, she shouted happily, "Xiaobei, I'm here. My name is Su Ilong. I'll follow you in the future." "Is this someone from Brothers Group? Who is it?" Xiaobei heard the noise and stood out of the carriage to look forward. The person was checked, mainly to see the certificate written by Zhang Xiaobao. They didn't find any danger, so they let him in. The person first looked at Xiaobei and then looked at the others. He glanced around and asked Xiaohai, You are Zhang Xiaohai." Seeing Xiaohai nod, he said happily, "I finally found you. Let me ask you a question. There are two kinds of candies, one red and one blue. Red candies cost 5 copper coins per box and blue candies cost 3 copper coins per box. You bought a total of 9 boxes and spent a total of 33 copper coins. Ask, how many boxes of blue and red candies did you buy?" Xiaohai was stunned for a moment and then answered casually, 3 boxes of red candies and 6 boxes of blue candies. "Su Ilong, today there is only one chapter, tomorrow there will be more." Chapter 12:12. Su Ilong actually knew the answer. He didn't calculate it, but he used the 2 types of boxes back and forth to make up the exact number. In theory, he only needed to make it 9 times, and he had to count the boxes of a certain color to 0. But he knew that if the number was big and changed to hundreds, it would take him a long time to make up the number. He could see that when he asked Little C clearly wasn't paying attention to his calculations. After hearing his question, there was a clear pause, as if he didn't understand why he would ask such a question, but then he easily gave the answer. In other words, Xiaohai could calculate this kind of problem quickly. Su Ilong thought a lot and was completely shocked. Just as he was about to continue testing the abilities of the other children, Xiaobei's voice rang in his ears. "What do you do?" "My grandfather is Su Jian, he's the academician of Jishan Academy, Yuan Gu, from the Great Wall of Huzhou. He studied books like Records of Heaven and Beginner's Notes and wrote a book called The Legend of De Yin." Before Su Ilong could introduce his grandfather, Xiao Yuan's voice sounded. Su Ilong looked at Xiao Yuan in surprise. "You? How did you know?" "There are only a few people in Jishan Academy, you just have to memorize them. And in order to prevent you from talking bad about my family behind my back and suddenly stabbing me, we have to send things to your family during the holidays. For example, the 3-year-old child in your elder brother's family now eats and uses children's toys. They are all sent by our precious candy house. Unfortunately, when someone took advantage of us, they didn't have the slightest intention to refuse. In the end, they turned around and didn't recognize us. Fortunately, your family still knows that the hand that takes advantage of others is short, and the mouth that takes advantage of others is soft." Xiao Yuan looked like he had suffered a great grievance. Why did he remember it so clearly? Of course, one had to know the family situation when sending things, especially when there was a baby at home. Su Ilong was slightly embarrassed by Xiao Yuan's straightforward words. He had also eaten the birthday cake given by others. The cream on it was very sweet, and it was not given by the Zhang family and Wang family. It was given by the 9 children's own candy house. Therefore, after this blow, Su Ilong's contempt and dissatisfaction disappeared instantly. He decided to follow the children and see what he could learn. At least, Xiaohai's calculating ability was better than his. "Since you came here in such a hurry, why don't you find a car and rest first? We'll talk about other things after dinner." Xiaobei didn't know what his brother and sister were planning to do by giving him a person, but it didn't matter if there was one more person or one less person in the group. Right now, they were in a hurry, so he ordered the group to continue speeding up. Su Ilong obediently found a car with Xiaobei's toys. She sat on the shaft outside and took a bottle of water from someone. She didn't open it for a while. He swallowed his saliva and asked the person driving the carriage next to him in embarrassment, "Brother, how do I drink water?" The coachman was leisurely waving the whip in the air. When he heard Su Ilong's question, he gave her a simple and honest smile and took the glass bottle from her hand. He clamped the whip under his armpit and used his other hand to break the bottle open with his thumb. With a ping sound, the iron lid on the bottle was removed. He returned the bottle to Su Ilong and put the lid back into his pocket. Su Ilong widened his eyes in surprise. He tried it just now, and the iron lid was very tight. He felt that if he tried to break it with his hand like the other person, he would scrape off a piece of flesh on his hand. Damn, I didn't expect the coachman to be an expert. Su Ilong thought for a while, wiped the bottle open with his hand, and raised his head to drink. As soon as the water in the bottle touched her tongue, Su Ilong felt as if her tongue was gently pricked by many needles. She almost spat out the water in her mouth. She suddenly reacted and didn't dare to spit in front of others, so she forced herself to swallow the water. As a result, after the water entered her stomach, she immediately felt an indescribable comfort filling her body, from her mouth to her stomach. It seemed that her breathing was comfortable, and she was more energetic. She burped from her stomach and spurted out from her nose. The sour taste seemed to penetrate her brain, and she couldn't help but shiver. An inexplicable ease lingered around her body. When the taste calmed down, Su Ilong smacked her lips twice. Her eyes looked away and felt brighter. She held the glass bottle in her hand and asked the coachman beside her, "What did you give me to drink?" "A kind of carbonated drink. The conditions don't allow it. Otherwise, it'll taste better if it's iced," the coachman replied. "Why haven't I seen it before? I don't even see it in the supermarket outside." Su Ilong felt that it would have been better if she had come earlier. Such a delicious, comfortable and refreshing carbonated drink. She would regret it if she tasted it later. The coachman continued to wave the whip a few times and didn't reply. After waiting for a while, Su Ilong saw that the other party didn't intend to tell her. She lowered her head and pondered. This thing must be something that the Zhang family and Wang family enjoyed in the inner courtyard, just like the canned food and heated food in the past. The purpose of its research and production was to let the people in the inner courtyard live better when they were outside. It was a special kind of care and welfare that others wouldn't even think about. Only when a better welfare product of the inner courtyard was developed would the previous one be sold as a high-end product for others to enjoy. This situation was known to everyone in the Tang Empire, so no one wanted to bribe the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family with money. They wouldn't agree. In the whole world, no one could find a main family like the Zhang family and Wang family. The kind of warmth and mutual love that blended together couldn't be bought with money. In envy, Su Ilong carefully took another sip. Under the circumstances of preparation, she finally tasted the good taste of the carbonated drink. She stuck out her tongue and licked her sweet lips. She carefully asked the coachman, "Is there anything else that can be eaten? I haven't eaten the previous meal, so I'm hungry after riding here." The coachman wasn't stingy. He took out a flat thing from his pocket and tore open the metal-like paper that Su Ilong didn't know what it was. He revealed the dark brown thing inside and handed it to Su Ilong. "Bite it in small bites. It's a little bitter at the beginning, but it'll have a strong aftertaste if you taste it carefully," the coachman advised. "Okay, thank you." Su Ilong also hadn't seen it before, but she knew that it was definitely not bad. She carefully took it and bit it according to the coachman's method. Sure enough, it was a little bitter, and then it was fragrant. She took another sip of the drink. It was nothing more delicious than this. "What is it?" Cuckoo named it chocolate. "It's refreshing and can restore the body's strength. Why haven't I seen it before?" As soon as she said it, Su Ilong immediately regretted it. She realized that she had asked a very stupid question. Seeing that the coachman didn't answer, Suilong continued to eat the drink and chocolate bit by bit. After eating, she leaned on the carriage and looked up at the blue sky and white clouds. She gently opened her mouth and enjoyed it as much as she wanted. After a long time, Suilong happily asked the coachman, "Brother, can I also get a fixed amount of drinks and chocolate in the future?" "You are." "My name is Suilong. I was arranged by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo to be with Xiao Bei and learn to do things." What Suilong wanted most at this moment was the same benefits as others. "Yes." The coachman answered simply. Suilong was happy. "How much can I get?" "You can eat as much as you want. As long as there's more in the team's supplies, you can take as much as you want." The coachman explained. "I can eat as much as I want." Suilong felt that happiness came so suddenly. She could drink as much as she wanted and eat as much as she wanted. It was a fairy-like life. Suddenly she asked the coachman in confusion, "Why don't you eat as much as you want?" After eating too much snacks, you will find that the best and most fragrant is actually the main meal. A bowl of white rice, a few meat and vegetable stir-fried dishes, and some pickles. A small bowl of soup is much better than snacks. The coachman said to Suilong. Suilong touched her stomach and seemed to want to eat a big bowl of rice. It would be better if she could make some vegetable soup. She was really hungry. After drinking a bottle of water, she seemed to want to eat more. She said to the coachman with understanding, "You probably have too many snacks and are tired of eating them. Why don't you sell them? It's a waste of resources." "Because it's specially provided for by the inner courtyard. As an inner courtyard student, I cannot eat it. But what I have is not available to others. When I'm outside, I take it out to eat. It's a symbol of status and can satisfy my vanity." The owner took this into consideration, so they don't sell it. The coachman's answer was very honest, and there was a happy smile on his face. Damned vanity. Suilong followed and muttered, "Seeing others have it, but you can't buy it with money. It's really helpless. It would be a lie to say that I'm not jealous. I'll go take a look later and see what good things there are. I'll keep it with me and take it out when I see others. They'll be envious to death." Ha, ha ha ha. Compared to Xiaobei's team that was like a marching army, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team slowed down again and moved towards Idyll like a snail. Occasionally, they would stop and chat with the local people who were watching by the roadside. They would let the logistic staff make convenient food for the people to taste. Fried chicken wings, smoked pork livers, and the like were made by well-trained chefs, and the commoners were all eating happily. Moreover, they were not polite when they accepted the food. As long as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan gave it to them, they would take it. After eating, they would praise them, as if they were good, so were they. Baigo came over worriedly. "Xiaobao, if we continue to send out, the reserves in the team won't be enough. We'll be arriving at Idyll soon. We'll have to clean up and exchange for a new batch of supplies. Cleaning up in the city will only earn us a little money, so it's better to give it to others for free. It's not easy for us to come here, so let's make everyone happy. Money can only reflect its value when it can buy happiness." Zhang Xiaobao, who had been clearing the inventory, said to Baigo indifferently. Baigo also became indifferent. After all, it was not his money. It was just that when they were waiting for the little ones to come over, they moved too slowly. He did not know why they had to wait for the little one's guards to come over. Now, there were many guards in the team. "You take your time to deliver the food to others. I'll go back and rest." Baigo planned to get out of the car and find his own place to sleep for a while. Before he left, Yao Chong appeared outside the car on a horse and followed the car slowly. When he came to the window, he said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in the car, "Just now, there was a telegram saying that you sent out a kind of cannon. If you shoot at the sky, it will rain." "What kind of cannon?" "Really?" Bai Go was no longer sleepy. "It's not shooting at the sky. It's shooting at the clouds. It's not the usual cannonballs. It's a rocket. It's like fireworks. There are different things in it. When it explodes in the sky, it will rain. Last time, it was an experiment. The technology was not mature yet, so it always missed." Zhang Xiaobao knew what Yao Chong was asking. It was just artificial rain. 10 years ago, he and Wang Wan had hoped for it. Now, they finally saw the light of dawn. 10 years, such a long wait, but it also seemed to pass in the blink of an eye. The time passed unknowingly. It was not an instant, but an eternity. As an old man, Bai Go did not pay attention to the passage of time. He only cherished every day and then enjoyed it. Therefore, he did not have any burden in his heart. What others did to him, and what he did to others, was not as good as what he had now. Because he was more direct when he asked. If he could get some good news, he would take advantage of others. If he could not, he would think of other ways. "Xiao Bao, did you specially ask the Research Institute to do research on the drought in the Tang Empire?" "Very good. It's what we should do to think about the people's lives." Bai Go asked indirectly. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and said with a smile, "For any invention, no matter what the intention of the inventor is, the first thing that the ruler thinks of is to use it in war. When Cuckoo and I provided technical ideas, we naturally did not think about artificial rain first. Instead, we thought about the scene of countless rocket launchers being fired at the same time on the battlefield. Cuckoo's and my initial idea had very low requirements. That was, within a range of 10 to 15 kilometers, there would be hundreds of rocket launchers, and at least 3,000 rocket launchers would be fired in a few minutes. It would be an area of saturation attack. Unfortunately, whether it was the range or the accuracy, the people of the Ministry of Works did not give us a satisfactory answer. We thought about it together and then thought that the rocket launcher could be simplified and used for artificial rain. I'm not afraid that you will laugh at me if I tell you. Wang Wan played along and smiled bashfully. Who asked her to be prepared to hit someone in the beginning and not the clouds? Bai Go was silent. Yao Chong was also speechless. The two of them were not stupid. They understood why Xiao Bao and Cuckoo thought about making rocket launchers. It was because the cannons used usually could not fire so many shells in a few minutes. But were the two of them war maniacs? It was clearly a design that could help the people in the dry areas, but it was developed to destroy the enemy. Are rocket launchers good, useful to hit people? Yao Chong wanted to know more about this. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Yes, but we won't be able to use them in the next few years. The technology for hitting clouds is simple, but the technology for hitting people is very complicated. The advantage is that it is light and convenient compared to cannons. The disadvantage is that the cost is too high. But it doesn't matter. In order to protect the lives of our soldiers and to effectively kill the enemy's forces, it's okay to spend some money. Let's wait and see. Based on the speed of the Ministry of Works research, it should be no problem in 8 to 10 years. If they don't learn foreign languages and only focus on mathematics, they can cultivate a group of smart geniuses in 6 to 7 years. Ordinary people won't be able to do it. The technicians trained by my family started learning more early, more than 10 years ago. The Ministry of Works recruited people from all over the country a little later. However, the people recruited later all had very good skills. They only lacked more advanced theoretical support. According to the current speed of development, Cuckoo and I can still provide guidance on the direction of research. Give us another 10 years, and we will be able to truly subdue the enemy without fighting. When Wang Wan thought of all the hard work she had put in over the years, she was also very emotional. Her eyes were slightly red as she said, "Yes, I believe that with their tireless research and learning, after the great Tang Empire, we don't need the special forces to take the life of a person in any country. We just need to inform the ruling class of that country, and they will send that person's head over themselves." Can this old man live for another 10 years? Baigo also wanted to see that day, but he was worried about his health. He knew that if he hadn't met Xiao Bao and Cuckoo at that time, he would very likely have died. Now, many old men were living very well, all because Xiao Bao and Cuckoo provided absolute healthcare support. Therefore, when Xiao Bao and Cuckoo used trains to go to other countries to exchange benefits with high-income and landowners, the process of negotiation was very smooth. These old men used their huge influence behind the scenes. When the exchange conditions were similar, no one dared to provoke them. Yao Chong on the horse clenched his fists and bent his arms to make a bodybuilding pose. After thinking about it, he said, "I will try my best to live. I will listen to the doctor. I will eat whatever he tells me to eat and do whatever he tells me to do. I will not be angry. I want to be in a good mood tomorrow." Baigo nodded vigorously in agreement. He decided to only drink a small cup of wine every day, eat more fish and vegetables, and not pickles. After thinking about his diet, Baigo suddenly found something wrong with Wang Wan's words and the way she gritted her teeth when talking just now. He asked, "Cuckoo, did someone from another country make you angry?" "There is a country called Jinla." Wang Wan mentioned the name of the country and then said, "Last autumn, they came to the capital to pay tribute. In order to temporarily stabilize them, our dynasty gave them a lot of rewards. When they left this year, they took the land route. When they reached Jiaoji, which is not far from the border of our Tang Empire, they ruined 2 newlyweds in the village." "Xiao Bao, you tell me." Wang Wan did not want to talk about it. Zhang Xiaobao's expression was not good. Then the 2 women wanted to commit suicide, but they were stopped by the local tribal chief. The tribal chief took them to the provincial government of Jiaozhou and sent a telegram to ask if our dynasty had taken their rent for nothing. Let me explain first, they did not pay rent before. They only started paying rent in the autumn of the year before last. In the end, this matter was found out by the local provincial governor. He threatened them not to cause trouble for our dynasty. They are now waiting at home. The people from Jinla have probably returned to their country by now. This shows that our Tang Empire is still easy to bully. Some of our officials are still not killed enough. This matter happened 7 days ago. Cuckoo and I only received the telegram the night before last. That is why Cuckoo said that we do not need to send troops in the future. We can just let them come with heads. Otherwise, we will destroy their country. Grandpa Bai, Grandpa Yao, tell me, isn't it very uncomfortable? Actually, our country is a bit remote. They do not pay much attention to this matter. The women will be casually bullied by the men, and they are powerless to resist. For example, the local tribes of Jiaoji may hold some bonfire party, and the women will be forced to find a place to do that kind of thing by a few men. But I am not very angry. This is a matter of education, and the local women are used to it. But now they are being bullied by outsiders. They have paid rent and sent a telegram to ask about it. When we received the news, Cuckoo and I were angry for a long time. After hearing this, Bai Shu and Yao Chong raised their hands to their chests at the same time. I am not angry. I want to live a few more years. Yao Chong took 2 deep breaths and muttered. Then he asked Zhang Xiaobao, how did you deal with it? Did you not do anything? The local provincial governor escorted them to the capital. He sent a telegram and asked the people in the telegraph office to find them. He told them not to think about dying first, and that the imperial court would give them an explanation. Zhang Xiaobao replied. What explanation? Bai Shu asked. Lu Xing is on the move. The reason why she is sad about being ruined is because the men she marries feel uncomfortable about being taken advantage of by a man from another country. She will always think about this matter, so she will capture him and let them beat him to death personally. Then, this thought will disappear. Cuckoo gave an order that those people must be brought back alive. We will chase after them all the way. Those who ask for information will be killed. Those who try to stop us will be killed. Those who try to protect them will be killed. Those who try to persuade us will be killed. Even if they hide in the palace, we must bring them out alive. Then, we will cut off the heads of those who are killed along the way, marinate them, and bring them back to Jiaoji. We will let them know that their taxes are not in vain. As long as they acknowledge the imperial court's rule, the imperial court will give them an explanation. Even if they bully people from other countries, the imperial court will send troops to help their relatives and not reason. When the pride of lions is fighting with the hyenas for food, the lion will not give an explanation to the hyenas just because its cubs started the fight first. It will only kill the leader of the hyenas and let its children have meat to eat. Zhang Xiaobao first mentioned Wang Wan's decision, then said something very unreasonable. Bai Shu and Yao Chong did not object. They seemed to think that Zhang Xiaobao was right. They also knew what the Lu Xing that Zhang Xiaobao mentioned was. It was a revenge special force formed by all kinds of talents from various elite troops. Its full name was the Lu Xing Battle Squad. Everyone in it had a name that belonged to their own star. Death is the Shining. Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, what if the Lu Xing Battle Squad you send provokes Xinla and they go crazy and suddenly send troops? Yao Chong asked worriedly. Then we won't fight Duoshe first. Let's get rid of them first. How dare a small country shout at us? We would rather lose 100 times the price in other aspects than make any compromises or concessions to them. I, Wang Wan, will put my words here today. If they dare to say no, Xiao Bao and I will personally lead troops and slaughter the fire of their entire race. Otherwise, what right do we have to make the people of Tang love this country? Wang Wan swore with a gloomy face. Originally, everything was going well. The plan for Duoshe was going very smoothly. Moreover, they had already suppressed Japan and Xinluo. At the same time, they could use other means to seek more benefits from Japan and Xinluo and make arrangements. In the end, Jin La's people came to pay tribute. When they returned, they had to find something to do, so the two of them had no choice but to consider the thoughts of the people in their country. Could they not send the Lu Xing battle squad to capture them? The consequence of refusing was to lose the hearts of the people. If Xinla dared to send troops, could they not knock them out? How many pairs of eyes were looking at them with anticipation? Were they looking at the god of war in their hearts, Cuckoo? Chapter 12-13. Whether or not to attack Xinla and how to attack them would depend on Xinla's reaction. Zhang Xiaobao continued to think about how to turn the unfavorable situation into a good one for the Tang Empire. He went into another carriage alone to ponder. Bai Shu and Yao Chong wanted to help but couldn't. Their way of thinking was different from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. To be precise, their way of thinking was the way of thinking of the normal ruling class. If they could solve the problem without using weapons, they would try their best not to use weapons. Otherwise, it would be a waste of manpower and resources. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wanted to speed up the expansion. While the weapons were advanced and the morale was high, they wanted to occupy more territory and plunder more resources. Seeing that Bai Shu and Yao Chong were still worried, Wang Wan persuaded Grandpa Bai, Grandpa Yao, don't worry about the lack of domestic supplies, and don't worry about the sharp rise in domestic prices. In fact, we have other ways to solve the problem of Junla. That is, we can send people to their ruling class to exchange benefits and let them take the initiative to send people over. But Xiao Bao and I have unanimously decided that we can't indulge their bad habits. The exchange of benefits itself represents our weakness. Bai Shu waved his hand, no need to say more. Let's fight. I can see that even if Junla doesn't attack this time, you will still attack them when you have the time. They are too close to the Tang Empire. Sooner or later, they will belong to the Tang Empire. Yes, Xiao Bao and I also think so. Moreover, their land is connected to ours. If it were Japan, we may be gentle because our ships are enough to control the people on their island. But the neighboring countries have the ability to send troops, even if their weapons are not advanced. Wang Wan admitted very straightforwardly. Peace would only appear when the difference in military strength was not big. The entire history of human beings in the world was actually a history of war. In war, resources were obtained, technology was developed, and technology was used to start wars. Whoever didn't follow the footsteps of this rule would be beaten. Neutrality was the charity given by the strong countries under the balance of interests. Bai Go and Yao Chong didn't want to waste their energy on this issue. They left Wang Wan's car and got together to discuss the fishing when they arrived in Idyll. Seeing that they did not try to persuade her, Wang Wan was very happy to have someone take out the military map and continue to study the route of the army to attack Junla. She did not want the other party to withdraw their forces when the situation was dire and then hide in the mountains and forests while she played a jungle battle with them. That was truly too cruel. The advanced firearms of the Great Tang would be limited, and the number of casualties would increase. Thus, a strategic objective had to be set, and only then could tactics be used flexibly. All the generals looked forward to forming a strategic objective after completing countless small tactical objectives. Xiao Bei's team was still moving forward quickly. Xiao Bei's 9 children were still carefree. They did not need to worry about the strategic problems of the country, and they certainly did not need to worry about the livelihood of the people. The only thing they could do was to spend the money earned by the candy house on the children of the Great Tang according to their own ideas. In fact, no matter how they spent, it would not be wrong, because they did not need investment in return. Although the money they earned every year was higher than the national revenue of Japan in the past years, it was only a small part of the current Great Tang. They had time to read books, edit and organize various kinds of stories for their younger brothers and sisters who stayed at home, and then teach others to show their strengths. Not only could they teach others, but they could also consolidate their knowledge. As for playing, they did not lack, and they also had many toys. They did not lack the right to have toys because adults also had toys. Su Ilong did not eat that night. After eating a lot of snacks, he was not hungry anymore. Then he went to Xiao Hai, who was teaching others, and listened to Xiao Hai teach mathematics. Although Xiao Hai was good at mathematics, the overall 9 people were very bad. The other 8 people's level was equivalent to that of Wang Wan's 4th grade, so Xiao Hai was able to teach them with ease. Su Ilong's level was slightly better than that of the 4th grade, but definitely not at the level of a 1st or 2nd grade. Therefore, he listened very seriously, ready to lay the foundation first, and then learn more advanced mathematics from Xiao Hai. Okay, tonight we will go out for a while, rest for 3 hours, and continue tomorrow morning. We will be able to meet up with brother and sister at dusk, and then we will go to Idyll as usual for a day. Our difficult days will be over. After listening to the lesson, Xiao Bei said happily. Rushing like this, even if they stayed in the carriage, obviously would not be comfortable. Once in a while, it was okay for 2 or 3 days, but they had enough of running back and forth like this. Su Ilong thought that it was very hard for the 9 little guys to keep running with the team outside, so she advised, Xiaobei, in fact, you just need to follow your brother and sister. Why do you have to run out? It will be easy to get tired and sick. It's okay, it's okay. We are still okay. Don't you see many children around our age, studying hard in school during the day, and helping the adults when they go home at night? Just like Tunghua County, although there was a school, it had not reached the level where all the children lived in school. The farthest child had to walk for 3.5 hours to get from home to school, and another 3.5 hours to go home. I have seen the teachers we found when we left, and their standards are far from the same. But the children are very satisfied. In comparison, we are really too happy. Not all teachers can be like brother and sister, and specifically weave knowledge into stories. Xiaobei was very sensible and compared the situation of the other children. If only the students in the Imperial College could be like you, Su Ilong said with emotion. Xiaobei curled his lips in disdain. Their lives are so good. Their families are all rich and powerful, and they have their own maids and manservants. Usually, they just flip through books at home and have someone to wait on them. When they reach school, someone will bring them lunch at noon, and then there will be teachers like great scholars to teach them. During class, they are absent-minded, and when school is over, they will go somewhere to play. This is the Imperial College, and the Imperial College is not very good. It is said that there are children of poor families in there, but in fact, if they are selected from the local government, how can they be poor? There are already local merchants who sponsor them, and there are capable people who value them. Saying that they are poor is relative. It is not that they can't eat meat, but they can't take out the money to hold banquets and poetry recitals. Xiaobei was very familiar with the situation in the national key schools, because the Imperial College had sent them invitations more than once, hoping that they could study there. In the end, they were directly rejected without any mercy. Not only did they say to the person who sent the invitations that they were ashamed to be associated with the students there, but they also said that the teachers wanted to teach them, but they were not qualified and were not worthy. The students in the Imperial College were very angry, and so were the teachers, but they could not do anything to Xiaobei and the others. Su Ilong used to think that the Imperial College was good, but now that she saw Xiaobei's 9 children, she realized that when it came to education, their brothers and sisters were better, so she tried to ask Xiaobei, how can the students in the Imperial College be like you? It's very simple. Brother said before that when all the children in the Tang Empire reach a certain level of knowledge, the students in the Imperial College will no longer have the advantage of education, and they will be able to find their own position again. Or use another method to improve the status of merchants, improve the status of craftsmen, and give more treatment to farmers so that the students can't enjoy the high position. But I don't want to do that, especially the status of merchants. I plan to always suppress it, or else it will make the Tang Empire think that money is the most important thing, and it will shake the foundation. Xiaobei told Su Ilong what her brother had said and nodded solemnly. She had a worried look on her face. It was not clear if she could really understand, but her expression was impeccable. Su Ilong was stunned. She squeezed her eyes hard and looked at Xiaobei again. She felt that the person in front of her was no longer a child, but a scholar older than her. How to shake the foundation? Su Ilong humbly asked for advice. Do you know about shaking? It means shaking. For example, our toys, the ones that can be assembled into buildings, if we shake it hard below, we will find a problem. Guess what the situation is? The screws on the top can actually loosen a little. Xiaobei patiently explained to her. I'm asking about how to shake, not the consequences of shaking, Su Ilong asked again. Ah. How to shake? It's just that, this is a good question. Think about it first, then ask me if you don't understand. I'll take you to see the real thing, which is our toy. You will definitely know how to shake from it. Xiao Bei hesitated for a moment, then ordered someone to bring her assembled toy from the toy carriage at the back. Su Weilong understood. Xiao Bei did not know the key to shaking at all, so he was diverting her attention. She had heard that Xiao Bei was good at this kind of thing, and she finally saw it today. That serious look was so cute. Soon, Xiao Bei's toy was sent over. The road that the carriage was traveling on was not bad. It was an official road. Because there were many caravans coming and going, there was a lot of investment in maintenance, so it was considered stable. Xiao Bei's toy was put in a big box. There were many small boxes in the big box, which were filled with small wrenches, screwdrivers, calipers, and other tools, nuts and bolts, and iron pieces of various shapes. It did not feel like a toy, but a common item in a craftsman's home, or even more complete. Xiao Bei let Su Weilong come closer to take a look, and said, "Look, we can use the parts in the box to assemble a variety of other fun things, such as a dog or a car. Look, brother once assembled a very beautiful car for us. It can walk on its own. It needs this thing called a motor, which is an electric motor. Brother always likes to call it a motor, and there's also a battery. I'm sure you haven't seen it before, because it hasn't been popularized. To be precise, only we have it, and no one else has it. Because it belongs to children, Xiao Yuan, Xiao Nan, and I will use it first to figure out better parts and assembly methods. When the time comes, Baby Candy House will take it out to sell. Do you want to have a car that can move on its own while being assembled by itself? Do you want to have a beautiful new home for dolls? Come on, please pay attention to our Baby Candy House. Every once in a while, we will introduce a new toy or a new way to play, so that you can be full of happiness, so that you can have everything you should have." Su Weilong swallowed her saliva, and then, in his opinion, even if he was given the diagram, he couldn't assemble it. There were too many, and he didn't know how Xiao Bei remembered it all. Hearing Xiao Bei's question, he hesitated and replied, "Do you have to take it apart and reassemble it?" "That's right. I have to dismantle the first two steps now. According to the terminology, it's called rework. It's a very annoying thing. From now on, we know that we have to be serious when doing things. Otherwise, when we find out that we did something wrong, it will be more tiring to go back and correct it." Xiao Bei frowned and started to dismantle it. "You can ask others for help. Xiao Bei, can you teach me how you know how to look at diagrams?" Su Weilong pointed at the assembly diagram and asked. "You'll know when you see it often. The diagram you see now is very simple. You haven't seen the diagram drawn by sister. You'll feel your eyeballs hurt when you see it. To be honest, Sister Xiao Zhu taught me. Speaking of helping, we have our own division of labor. I'm responsible for the transportation of troops, so I have to assemble the current troop carrier. They have their own places to be responsible for, but they still need other people's help to assemble the current vehicle. This can only mean one thing." When Xiao Bei's voice fell, she drew a finger. It was an index finger, not a middle finger. Zhang Xiaobao didn't teach his younger siblings to use body language to scold others. "What's the problem?" "Sure enough," Su Weilong asked cooperatively. "It means that my personal ability is poor. No matter how exaggerated other people's praise of teamwork is, you can't ignore the personal ability of forming a team. According to brother's words, that is, not afraid of a godlike opponent, but afraid of a pig-like teammate." Xiao Bei's two chubby little hands had already dismantled the front as he spoke, and reinstalled the extra gears just now. After waiting for a few more steps to complete, he clapped his hands and said, "Okay, only the box outside is left. I'll put the box together now. The so-called box was the outer shell, and it also needed to be put together. Suilong looked at it enviously. She felt that even older people would like the things in front of her, let alone children. After waiting for a while, Xiao Bei finally put the outer shell together and covered the internal parts just now. He pushed the cart back and forth with his hands and said to Suilong, "Look, can we go now? Is it fun? My infantry transport vehicle is very useful. It can provide enough troops to the front, and at the same time, it can also be used as a temporary escort force." Suilong looked at it a few times and suddenly felt that it was very normal. It was just that there were more parts inside, but a carpenter could also make a cart that could be pushed back and forth with wood. Just as this idea arose, Xiao Bei stuffed 4 batteries into the cart, and at the same time, took out a wire and connected it to the reserve port of the cart with a copper plate with a bayonet. In his hand, there was a small box with a button. Xiao Bei sat upright and put the cart he assembled in place. He turned his head and said to Suilong, "Let me show you how we look like when we work together. Because they're not here, I'll say it with my mouth. You can understand it yourself, okay?" Suilong nodded, okay. He wanted to see what kind of tricks Xiao Bei could play. "Ready!" Xiao Bei shouted, and then said, 1,500 meters ahead, the enemy has formed a temporary blocking position. My Xiaoyuan battalion's advance is blocked, requesting for support. I, Xiao Bei, am an independent mobile battalion. I was ordered to go and pull Xiaoyuan battalion around the enemy's blocking position to achieve the purpose of penetrating in depth. When Xiao Bei said this, he pressed the button on the box. Suilong saw the cart assembled by Xiao Bei move forward by itself, and his eyes widened. Not good, there are enemy troops rushing towards my mobile battalion. My battalion drivers, pay attention to the enemy trenches in front. Set up the machine gun and sweep them all down. Beep, 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 report, my mobile battalion broke through the enemy's small blocking force and met up with Xiaoyuan. Pay attention to the enemy pursuing soldiers in front, transport troops temporarily retreat and find another way out. Xiao Bei released the button just now and pressed another one, and the cart began to move back. Not good, there is actually no less than a brigade behind the enemy. Calling Brother Xiaohai, request for artillery support. 2222 high ground, 300 to 1,200 meters in front, cover the area. Whoosh, 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 Brother Xiaohai's artillery is firing. You guys are having fun, ha 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 ha. Xiao Bei had already forgotten Suilong who was beside him at this moment. He controlled the cart to move back and forth, and kept talking to himself. This was the normal behavior of most children when playing games. Generally, you would give a girl a few dolls, a set of small kitchen utensils and shovels. She would play from morning to night, and she would have a lot of fun. The dolls could also eat a lot of meals. If it was a boy, you would provide him with enough soldier models, and he would be able to fight a long and drawn-out battle. Zhang Xiaobao had done such a thing before. When he was in the orphanage, he collected a lot of poker cards that were missing one, and then divided them according to red and black. One side represented the good guys, and the other side represented the bad guys. He spread them in the yard, on the steps, in the sandpit, and everywhere were poker soldiers. When a soldier died, the poker cards would be turned over, and the final result would always be the good side winning. It seemed that the poker soldiers that represented the good guys were very strong, and there were more reinforcements than the bad guys. So now, Zhang Xiaobao also provided the same game for his younger brother and sister. However, the things that represented the soldiers were no longer poker cards, but lifelike models. Each soldier was independent, and could even be loaded into a car. If Xiao Bei and the others had the time and energy, they could set up tens of thousands of models to cooperate in a grand battle. If Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan wanted to teach Xiaobei and the others knowledge through such a game, they first had to immerse themselves in the game like Xiaobei and the others. They definitely couldn't stand aside and watch the children play. Then, as an adult, you would laugh and let the children's attention be on you. Then, as if coaxing the children, you would say, "Are you playing this? Is it fun?" If you said that, the children would be very angry. They would think that you were mocking them for being small. The battle that they had painstakingly designed was disrupted by you, and a feeling of not being recognized would fill their hearts. There were two kinds of consequences. First, they would angrily push you away and not let you watch. Then, they would turn around and readjust their mood and continue playing by themselves. Second, they would simply stop playing and not care about the battle situation that they had created. They would turn around and find a place to sulk. Every time Zhang Xiaobao, who knew this kind of child psychology, wanted to participate, he and Wang Wan would secretly observe from the side and analyze Xiaobei and the others' deployment of the battle. Then, they would go over and provide support. Usually, they would be logistics and engineers. The expression on their faces had to be serious. However, there was one thing that had to be said first. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan definitely couldn't use Xiaobei and the others' troops and tools. When they were needed to participate, they had to lead the troops themselves. This was because all the troops of the other party had already been arranged. Therefore, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also had a lot of toys. Usually, they would put them in a big box and take them out when needed. They would cooperate with Xiaobei and the others and play together with them. They would also tell them the knowledge that they wanted to teach Xiaobei and the others. This was why Xiaobei now knew so many battle terms and understood tactics. Suilong had already started to develop a situation where his IQ was gradually decreasing. Xiaobei was only commanding a car, but he slowly felt the situation of the entire battlefield from Xiaobei's words. Penetrating deep, dividing, encircling, advancing horizontally, setting up blocking positions to resist the enemy's reinforcements, and cooperating with the main force to annihilate the enemies in the encirclement. Interfering with the enemy's logistics, setting up a pocket formation, luring the enemy deep into the encirclement, attacking reinforcements, surrounding 3 and missing 1, digging tunnels, building trenches, protecting the medics, and so on. Xiaobei controlled the car and completely immersed himself in his own fantasy. He used all the war knowledge he had learned. Suilong listened to Xiaobei's muttering and didn't dare to disturb him. He had a feeling that if he was really in a troop and his opponent was Xiaobei and the other 9 people, he would definitely be beaten silly by Xiaobei and the others. Even if Xiaobei and the others had never organized a real war, they were still better than him. He couldn't even analyze what Xiaobei was muttering. Sometimes, he would be very happy when he figured something out. After thinking for a while, he realized that he couldn't understand many of the methods Xiaobei mentioned. Suilong gave up on continuing to follow Xiaobei's train of thought and turned to consider more important things. That was the car controlled by Xiaobei. This car was equipped with a motor, an electric motor, and a battery. It could move forward and backward. According to Xiaobei, this was called a troop carrier. It was indeed a toy and couldn't be used in a real war. If one stepped on it, it would definitely be flattened. However, this thing could be made bigger. After the parts were enlarged, wouldn't it be possible to let the soldiers go up? Moreover, Xiaobei had just muttered that there were machine guns in the car. Once the enlarged car was sent to a real battlefield, the outside of the car would be iron, and there would be machine guns in the car. In the face of the enemies of the surrounding countries, what method would the other party use to stop this weapon that gave people a sense of power? Out of battery. Sure enough, as I said, the battery won't work after an hour. They also said that it can last for 2 hours. Liars. Well, that's it for today. I won't take the battery. I have to save it. Xiao Bei's car was difficult to move. He found that it was because the battery was out of battery. Xiao Bei put down the control box in his hand and breathed a sigh of relief. Only then did he remember that there was a person beside him. Did you see everything just now? Xiao Bei asked embarrassedly. At this moment, he realized that what he muttered just now was just his imagination. What if others heard him and laughed at him for thinking too much? Su Ilong didn't understand the child's thoughts and nodded honestly. When Xiao Bei was even more embarrassed, she said, I saw and heard it, but there are many things I don't understand. For example, why is there a trench in front, but Xiao Bei's tracked armor doesn't move forward? Why does he have to wait for Danan's explosive soldier to rush over first? Oh! Xiao Bei was relieved. He let out a long sound, smiled complacently, and explained. Because the enemy's trench. My wheeled car will get stuck in it. The tracked armor can rush over, but what if they don't want to live anymore and tie a lot of grenades together and hold them above their heads? When the tracked car goes over and explodes, the car will be finished, and the people in the car will be shocked to death. Danan's explosive soldier will rush over under the cover of the armored car's machine gun and throw grenades into the trench. Don't you think so? A tracked armored car is very expensive. But you just said that you want to end the battle quickly. If your armored car is waiting there, you will lose your speed advantage at the same time. How will you achieve tactical deployment? Su Ilong asked the key question. Xiao Bei was stunned. His eyes stared at a place and thought for a moment. He patted his head and nodded, admitting, yes, I forgot. It should be under the condition of not caring about the damage of the car, quickly rushing forward, tearing apart the enemy's line of defense, and cooperating with other troops to complete the encirclement. I didn't consider it thoroughly. You are very good. I believe that with you as my adjutant, my team will be able to reduce a lot of command mistakes during battle. I have decided now to allow you to join our army. Now that you don't have any soldiers, I will transfer some of my soldiers and let you form your own direct troops. The number may be a little small, but don't worry. When we reach Idyll, I will ask people to make more soldier models. As for you, what you need to do now is to formulate the framework of your army. When the time comes, I will complete your formation of troops. Do you have any other requests? Thank you, General. I don't have any other requests. Can I have a mobile army? It's just... Su Ilong pointed at the car assembled by Xiao Bei expectantly. Although he was much older than Xiao Bei, this kind of wired remote-controlled car was also very attractive to him. If it could be changed to wireless, the whole world would probably go crazy with it. With a remote-controlled car or plane, even an old man would be immersed in playing with it. Xiao Bei said generously, yes. In fact, the brother and sister's team has a lot of small cars. One is for us to play with, and the other is for the technical staff to constantly improve and design what should be designed so that it can be used in a real war in the future. Later, I will teach you the use of a group of small cars on the battlefield. There is a tactical name called magnetic tactics. Using fast mobility to maintain a relative distance from the enemy and constantly consume the enemy's strength. However, first of all, we need to have sufficient technology, especially strong long-range firepower. Su Ilong saw that Xiao Bei was willing to support some small cars and immediately became excited. When she heard Xiao Bei mention magnetic tactics, she became even more curious and asked, "Is magnetic tactics very powerful?" Very powerful. In a war story that sister told, magnetic tactics caused a lot of damage to the enemy. Moreover, Because the enemy's technology couldn't keep up, they could only passively take a beating. Xiao Bei looked very helpless when talking about magnetic tactics. Is it because you can't think of a way to break this tactic? Su Weilong asked again. Xiao Bei shook his head. No, it's because when we used magnetic tactics, we didn't get any advantage from brother and sister. Now, I can't figure out what went wrong. At that time, when we were playing games with brother and sister, we distributed the money according to the same principle. That is to say, if we have good weapons, then we have fewer soldiers. If we want more soldiers, then the weapons can't be too advanced. At that time, brother and sister wanted very ordinary weapons and then fought with us. In the end, brother and sister kept the ordinary allocated money and didn't use it. We used all kinds of tactics, whether it was partial or overall, but we didn't get any advantage. Don't you think it's uncomfortable? Before brother and sister could counterattack, we admitted defeat. Hee hee. Su Weilong couldn't help but laugh out loud. She reached out and touched Xiao Bei's head. You are still young. When you grow up, you will definitely be able to beat Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Let them use weapons that are not too different from yours. You still want to win. Didn't you see the sand table sealed in hibiscus garden? Using indigenous cold weapons against hot weapons, how much torture did those generals in the court suffer? I know. War is fought with people. Unless the weapons are really too powerful, it depends on the commander's commanding ability. Let's not talk about it anymore. Help me take apart the small car and put it back. Xiao Bei began to dismantle the car. Su Weilong helped at the side and carefully put the parts back to their original positions. Her heart was filled with pride. She looked forward to the day when the small car in front of her became bigger, forming an absolutely superior mechanized army and rampaging in the enemy camp. What Su Weilong didn't know was that small cars like Xiao Bei's toy had already started to be manufactured in the Ministry of Works. Moreover, they weren't making toys and didn't have any remote control devices. There could be wireless telegraphy, but wireless remote control was too difficult for the people in the Ministry of Works. The car made by the Ministry of Works also had a motor, but it was twice as big as Xiao Bei's. The battery used was also different. There was no place to place a machine gun on the car, and the wheels of the car were very suitable for uneven roads. At the filming site of the Ministry of Works, Li Longji had just finished a set of scenes. When he was resting, there was such a small car under his feet. If it is a few dozen meters away, we can also use guns to shoot. Also, the weight of a grenade can be exchanged for the weight of a lot of bullets. It is not as convenient to carry as grenades. The technician wanted to explain or shirk responsibility, but he suddenly remembered Zhang Xiaobao's style of doing things and didn't dare to find excuses for himself. Li Longji pondered for a while. Do it as soon as possible, but be careful. How much is the cost of the small car under my feet? 30 strings of bursts. The entire set will cost 30 strings of bursts. Xiao Bao sent us a telegram a few days ago and asked us to make dozens of big ones. This big. The technician measured the length of the car. It was about 1.5 meters long and 70 centimeters wide. Li Longji followed and asked, Xiao Bao wants to use it to blow up the city walls. Why don't we use artillery to bombard them? It's not blowing up the city walls. It's for the little guys to sit and play with. We are currently solving the problem of the battery pack storage capacity and the amount of electricity that can be delivered per unit of time. The technician replied. We are going to war soon, and Xiao Bao still wants to make toys for Xiao Bei and the others. Just do it. Who knows what they are thinking? Li Longji couldn't figure out what Zhang Xiaobao was thinking, so he wanted to stop him. However, he also considered the possibility that Zhang Xiaobao might have some ulterior motive. If he were to stop him, it would be too late. Thus, he nodded. Your Majesty, we can start filming the next set of scenes. You need to change your clothes. This set of scenes will show that you support agriculture. You need to wear a bamboo hat on your head, change your clothes into rough linen, and preferably straw sandals on your feet. We have also prepared a hoe for you. Do you want to start? The director in charge of filming carefully came over and said awkwardly. Li Longji had been filming the scenes in the school next to the research institute. He personally held a book and taught others as if he really knew. Now, he needed to change it to the agricultural aspect. The makeup artist was in place and had to make him look like a farmer who was hoeing crops in the afternoon. The only thing was that the color of his skin was slightly darker, there had to be sweat on his head, his sleeves were rolled up, and there had to be some mud on his arms. Actually, when people were farming, the men were usually shirtless to prevent their clothes from being worn out. However, the emperor couldn't be shirtless, or else the people from the Ministry of Rights and the censorate would be excited. After Li Longji changed his clothes and had the makeup done, he looked at the hoe and ordered, "Change it. It's obvious that this is a new hoe. Change it to an old one." When filming a movie, even if you are lying, you have to be more professional. It won't do if you don't have the basic qualities. Yes, we didn't consider it thoroughly. Your Majesty, come with us. The people from the Research Institute have opened up some vegetable fields on the left. It just so happens that they didn't have time to clean up the weeds there. You can go and hoe it. The director was very good at choosing the location. Gao Lisher didn't go to the construction site in the palace today. Instead, he came along to watch. He still had a few scenes and added 2 lines. One line was, "Your Majesty, you personally teach, you will inspire the students of the Ministry of Works." The other line was, "Your Majesty, you personally farm, you will inspire the people." In the end, Li Longji changed it. Otherwise, it would seem too fake. He changed it to, "Your Majesty, the students of the Ministry of Works have already seen what you said last time. Why don't you talk more about it later? Your Majesty, there is a place in front that you didn't hoe. There are still edible wild vegetables. I will collect them for you and make your favorite wild vegetable soup." This was much better than the previous one. It felt more natural and showed that the emperor wasn't that amazing. There were also places that the hoe couldn't hoe. At the same time, it also showed that the emperor didn't necessarily eat delicacies. There was still wild vegetable soup. That was the way things were. It was a movie, so of course it was a lie. If it was real, it would be called a documentary. Li Longji came to the uncleaned field with the hoe in his hand. He pondered for a moment and said, "Find me 2 more children." Your Majesty, why are you looking for children? The director was also a rookie. To be honest, Zhang Xiaobao was much better than him as a director. Moreover, he could write his own script, act as an actor, and win all kinds of awards for the male lead. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to fool people. Li Longji slammed the hoe into the ground and said in a deep voice, "I don't intend to give the commoners the idea that I am doing farm work every day. Find 2 children and a group of commoners. Or you can act as commoners yourselves. After that, you can stand by the side of the field and watch me. When I am weeding, don't move. Just watch." When the 2 children come over, one of them curiously asks, "I heard that you are the emperor. Why did you suddenly think of weeding today?" The other child keeps nodding his head with a curious expression. At that time, I will stop and use one hand to massage my waist. I will say to the 2 children, "Yes, I am the emperor. Today, I am working in the field to tell the commoners of Great Tang that I, the emperor, value you very much. Although I am not good at this kind of work and my waist hurts, I believe that you will do a good job. You will be 100 times better than me. It is because of you that I can eat my fill. Then I will look at the commoners and say to them, don't always look at me as a joke. Come down and help me hoe this field. At the same time, I will also give you a scene. After you are done with your work, go back and do other things. This is what I plan to do. Listen to me and get down to the field to help me hoe the weeds. You will do it skillfully. If you don't know how to do it, don't give me a scene. What do you think? Everyone who heard Li Longji's words widened their eyes. Gao Lisher cooperated and shouted, talent. Your Majesty, this subject never thought that Your Majesty would have such talent. This subject agrees. We will do as Your Majesty says. The flattering voices of the others also sounded in Li Longji's ears. Li Longji narrowed his eyes in enjoyment. Suddenly, an idea popped up in his mind. He asked the people around him, say, if we find someone to play the role of Xiaobao and pretend to be a fool and follow me around, I can teach him from time to time. Would the effect be better? The people who heard Li Longji's words not only widened their eyes, but their mouths were also wide open. They looked as if they were frozen in a photograph. After a while, Gao Lisher softly persuaded, Your Majesty, why don't you get someone to act as Xiaobao? If you get someone to act like Xiaobao, even if he doesn't go crazy, the commoners will go crazy. The merchants of Great Tang will all commit suicide by banging their heads against the wall. That is too fake. No one will believe that Xiaobao is that foolish. Is that so? Li Longji was clearly depressed. I can't even take advantage of this. Since Xiaobao can't act like a fool, who can? As Li Longji spoke, his eyes began to look around, and the people around him lowered their heads. At dusk the next day, the red clouds were reflected in the sky. In the distant mountains, a few flocks of birds in the forest were frightened by Shui Yun's family, and they flew in all directions, drawing vivid lines under the sunset. Xiao Bei hugged his brother and said that he wanted to eat something good. He kept talking about the hardships of the past few days. The other 8 children surrounded him and added a few words from time to time. Su Ilong had a reserved expression and stood beside Su Jian. She was telling her grandfather that she had been too conceited in the past, and that she had finally seen the power of Xiao Bei and the other 9. Go take a bath first, change your clothes, and then eat, Zhang Xiaobao said to Xiao Bei. I'm done bathing and changing. Brother, I'm exhausted from the past few days. I need a lot of nourishment, Xiao Bei shouted. Okay, I'll make you a fat pork shoulder. Zhang Xiaobao agreed. Let's make some vitamins. Make some braised potatoes. Xiao Bei immediately changed his mind. Thus, Zhang Xiaobao took away the braised potatoes and steak that night. Together with Wang Wan, he held a knife and fork to accompany his younger siblings for dinner. There were many candles on the table. The maidservants and odd-job workers who followed Xiao Bei's 9 bodyguards handed over all their work for the time being and enjoyed a good dinner. Buckets of water were drawn from the nearby river and heated up. After taking a nice bath, they each went to sleep and didn't care about anything else. During this period of time, they were the most tired and needed to relax and rest. After Xiao Bei and the others had eaten their fill, they went to bed early. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan asked people to bring over the Qin family from Tunghua County, who hadn't eaten for the entire day. The oldest man in the Qin family, Qin Mudong, looked even older at this moment. There wasn't the slightest bit of redness on his face. He looked like a lamp that had run out of oil and could die at any time. The skin on Chen Guangho, Chen Guangliang, and Chen Guangshuan's faces were also sagging and drooping. Their eyes were sunken. The children in their family no longer had arrogant expressions. Each and every one of their eyes was filled with fear. Zhang Xiaobao looked at them without the slightest bit of sympathy in his heart. Colluding with the enemy with selfish motives would inevitably cost the lives of the Tang people. What they exchanged for was not cattle and sheep, but the flesh and blood of their own soldiers. After sizing up the Qin family for a while, Zhang Xiaobao slowly opened his mouth. I don't need to say more about what you did. Even if you turn yourselves in, the reduced punishment won't let you live. However, I'm a kind person and don't want to kill you, so I need you to do something first. Do it, do it. We'll do anything to leave the Qin family a line of descendants, Chen Mudong said in a hoarse voice. When he raised his head to look at Zhang Xiaobao, his eyes were full of pleading. You'll personally come forward and transfer the transaction with Duoshe to my people. I'll directly send people to seize it for fear that Duoshe's people will be suspicious. After this is done, you won't be killed. I'll find a place for you to go mining. The women in your family will be responsible for cooking in the mining area. After 30 years, I'll release the 3 youngest children in your family. They'll be in their 30s by then, and it won't be too late to find a wife to continue the Qin family's line of descendants. As for the others, they'll die in the mines. They can die of exhaustion, old age, or sickness. When I announce to the outside world, I'll say that I killed you. Do you have any objections? Zhang Xiaobao left them a way out. Instead of killing them directly, it was better to create some social value. I don't agree, Chen Yaozu shouted because he wasn't the youngest child. His father suddenly covered his mouth and said to Zhang Xiaobao, don't worry about him. He'll go straight in and work. He wasn't involved in the transaction with Duoshe at all, so it won't affect our transfer. I'll be in charge of this matter, and I'll make Duoshe trust the person who takes over later. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and waved his hand again. Someone from the side came over to take the Qin family people away. After waiting for the others to leave, Zhang Xiaobao took out a map and spread it out. He called out to Wang Wan, help me give some advice on what kind of resources to trade for Duoshe's things. Wang Wan came over. If you ask me, we'll trade for livestock. If we can trade for food, that's fine too. I don't think they'll give us any information. At the same time, it'll easily arouse suspicion. Then let's send them more medicine to treat their illness, Zhang Xiaobao followed. Chapter 12-15. The timing of the team's departure was very accurate. They said that they would arrive in Idyll on the 2nd day after the rendezvous. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team arrived at the city gate of Idyll, the Chens had already met up with Duoshe's spies who were hiding in the city. They introduced the new contact to them, and at the same time indicated that they might not be able to trade with the other party in person in the future. This was because Xiaobei and the others now had a lot of evidence and could discover the problem with their family at any time. At that time, they might reveal the secret, so they asked the other party to leave immediately. They also had to secretly communicate with the new contact to confirm the contact method in the future. Sure enough, not long after Chen Guangho left, the Chen's portraits were posted in all the public places in Idyll, saying that they were guilty of colluding with the enemy. It was no longer a financial problem as previously suspected. What followed was a citywide search to find the contact between Duoshe and the Chens. The people in Tonghua County's Yamen had been replaced, and the original ones were nowhere to be found. Some said that they were sent to work, and some said that they were directly shot. While the search was going on in Idyll, the local Yamen did not move. They were all brought by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. This made the spies sent to Idyll by various countries sigh in relief. It was not that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were not capable, but according to common sense, the local people were more familiar with the local situation. Since the local forces were not mobilized, in the end, they only found a dozen local gangsters who wanted to become gangsters. All of them were arrested and sent to repair the road. The local people found that the place where they usually lived was peaceful. The meat sellers no longer encountered situations where they only received 3 or 4 copper coins for a piece of meat that was supposed to be 5 copper coins. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team camped in the field of the local garrison outside the city, and they themselves led a small group of people into the city. The restaurant in the city had been emptied a few days ago. They no longer received any foreign guests, and only waited for the arrival of the main family. It's time for a battle of wits. To be honest, I'm very angry now. Zhang Xiaobao sent someone to inform the local forces that they were not allowed to visit him now. He sat at the top of the Blue Sea Silver Sand restaurant and looked down through the window as he spoke to Wang Wan, who was grinding coffee. Wang Wan unhurriedly shook the coffee grinding machine. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, she asked, "What's wrong? You haven't come up with a good idea yet." "No, I really hate them. Of all the times to cause trouble, why did they have to wait until we were about to take action? I hope that the Meteor Battle Squad's speed can be a little faster. After the results are out, maybe I can have a flash of inspiration and figure out a way to harm others to benefit myself." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he got up to get snacks, sugar, and salt. He was going to have a cup of coffee with Wang Wan later. Now, there were a lot of coffee beans stored at home, but he had never taken them out to sell. He didn't even send them to Gao Lisher. He wanted to wait for more coffee to be planted in Hainan before taking them out to form a new employment industry for Tang dynasty. Just like now, they were looking for unsuitable places to plant tea trees. They were using various methods to make tea leaves and piling them up in the warehouse. Then, when the fleet was free, they would ship them to farther places and conduct a fair trade with the locals. "Xiao Bao, I remember that you don't like to drink coffee." When Wang Wan saw Zhang Xiaobao busying himself there, she didn't think that he was specially serving her. "I suddenly thought of selling tea. The locals might not like to drink tea. If we sell it boat by boat, the price of the tea will definitely not go up. Things are expensive when they are rare, so we have to sell them as luxury goods, especially good tea. The current coffee is expensive because it's rare. If we don't want it to be rare, we have to add some vegetable fat into it." What Zhang Xiaobao meant was that the coffee in front of him was expensive, so he could drink it. Wang Wan was amused by Zhang Xiaobao's words. Things are expensive when they are rare. Can rare and thick be the same? In the past, I never put anything else in my coffee. Coffee with seasonings is the same as tea with salt and ginger. The taste looks like a lot, but it loses the most primitive thing. A simple coffee doesn't mean that it's boring. Simple coffee can also be long-lasting. Coffee without adding anything doesn't mean that it's bitter, but that it's simple and pure. In fact, many things are the same. If you think too much, you will be blinded by prosperity in the end. While talking, Wang Wan's coffee was ready. She poured a cup for herself and another cup for Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao looked down and blew into the cup, using his face to test the temperature. He found that it was too hot to drink, so he said, "Your coffee is too simple. There are still dregs in it." "If there is, then there is." When coffee was first drunk, there weren't so many processing equipment. Just like the novel Journey to the West said, the world is not complete, so why make everything perfect? Art has always represented flaws. Perfect things are not called art, but end. Wang Wan had reached the realm of selflessness at this moment, swimming in the sea of philosophy, so she casually took a pair of chopsticks and stirred the cup just to cool it down. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly stood up, walked over to open the door, and said to the two people standing at the door, "Go and call the people from the action team." After a while, 10 people came in one after another, each with a writing pad under their arm. "Sit." Zhang Xiaobao motioned, but didn't invite them to drink coffee together, because they had to start recording immediately. "This is my order." As soon as Zhang Xiaobao said these 3 words, the 10 people picked up their pens in unison. Jiangyin Reserve Bureau, open the dry seafood warehouse and use automatic cargo ships to transport the seafood here at the fastest speed. A large amount of dehydrated vegetables in Jiang Province and the black gunpowder stored in Beiling are to be transported to Yi Province immediately. Lu Zhou, send a small fishing patrol team to arrest the fishermen of Jinla dynasty on the grounds that they are stealing Tang's fish. Also, ask the Jinla dynasty to give us a satisfactory explanation. Huainan and Henan provinces' grain is to be transferred to Shannon East Province, Shannon East Province's grain is to be transferred to Shannon West Province, and Shannon West Province's grain is to be transferred to Jiannan Province. Those who stay in the capital are to send the plan to His Majesty. Everything will start in 3 days. After giving the order, Zhang Xiaobao picked up the cup of coffee that had cooled down a little and looked at Wang Wan. At this moment, Wang Wan was drinking coffee. Her coffee was pure, but she was eating salty French fries. When she heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, Wei Wei was stunned. When she saw the look Zhang Xiaobao gave her, she nodded and said, "Have you made up your mind?" "Yes, from now on, I won't pursue perfection. I'll pursue art. No one can control the process of war. It's like a one-wheeled bicycle that needs to find balance in motion. Since we are facing the unknown, let's take action first, muddy the water, and find what we know from it." Zhang Xiaobao made this decision after hearing Wang Wan mention coffee. Wang Wan took a deep breath, put down the cup of coffee, and said to the people of the action group, "Send a report to the troops stationed at Xindu River. 3 days later at noon, they will launch an attack on the garrison of Duoshi Wuchang. Order the troops stationed in Tibet's Great Balu to cross the mountains at the border and attack the troops of Duoshi army in Minasido. Order the Nepal commandos to advance toward Guangyan City and destroy any enemy lives along the way. Order the artillery directly under Lhasa City to arrive near the river that runs from east to west and be prepared to attack the enemy's troops at any time. Order the Annan Protectorate to take out 80% of its troops and block the border with Jinla." A pile of military orders came out of Wang Wan's mouth. The time of the attack was set to be 3 days later. In the morning, the new administrative orders would be published in the capital in the form of newspapers. At noon, the battle would begin. Zhang Xiaobao needed these 2 actions to support the implementation of the new plan. As for whether Jinla would start a war, there was no need to consider. Originally, they treated Jinla as a frontline war. Now, they combined it with the war against Duoshi. If it didn't attack, they would let the navy go around it. If it attacked, they would treat it as Duoshi and extend the front line. In any case, the front lines from east to west and north to north were long enough. This was because Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan not only wanted to attack Iran and Pakistan, but also a large part of India. Otherwise, it would be difficult to rule. With the Himalayas in the way, they might as well take this opportunity to firmly occupy the other side of the mountain. If they didn't attack now, they would have to readjust the domestic situation when they invaded India after the war with Duoshi. In history, it seemed that at every critical moment, they would be dealt with by others, and they felt helpless and distressed. Thus, when the 2 of them had just developed an industrial system, they first let their own countries collide economically and ideologically, and then made the great leap forward, and then resolved it through war. This way, not only would the neighboring countries always be under the shadow of war, but it would also be convenient for them to plunder resources, then come back to research technology, promote weapons, and continue to expand. The two of them were riding the development of the Great Tang like a bicycle, not fixed to the left or the right, but always wandering between the two. As I was writing, I realized that it was already past 24 o'clock. Alright, for the full attendance of 500 yuan this month, I'll update 15,000 yuan today. When I'm done, please count your votes and encourage me. Chapter 12:16. The dark clouds of war were gathering, and even the people of the Tang Empire could feel this oppressive atmosphere. From time to time, groups of soldiers would come to the docks, escorting packages marked with military insignia to the ships docked there. On the official roads of various places, groups of transport teams escorted by soldiers were also advancing. The local army, which the people rarely saw before, had now opened up their camps. Occasionally, a group of cavalrymen would patrol along the roads. The bailiffs of the local government offices began to take up their duties on time with water and fire sticks in their hands. They also took the initiative to come to the various markets to help maintain order. They even personally set up shelves for the sellers and asked the elderly if there was anything they wanted them to do. The local government put up notices one after another, requesting that local law and order be strictly enforced in the near future. They did not allow hooligans who had nothing to do to continue to wander around the streets in groups. If they caused trouble, they would be severely punished. Darling Candy House had a new program, the Good Baby Award. As long as the children who went to school did not run around after school and returned home to study peacefully, or came to Darling Candy House to study with other children in the open room of Darling Candy House, they would receive a reward. It could be a delicious cake, or a few beautiful candies. If her performance was good enough, she might even get a beautiful dress. In just half a day, the people of the Tang Empire knew that there was going to be a war, and it was a war personally commanded by the war god in their hearts, Cuckoo. There had been wars in the past, but there had never been a time like this. In the past, every war had a common feature, and that was when the horn of war sounded, domestic goods would rise in price. If the war was difficult, there would even be a temporary increase in rent. In fact, the people of various places were already prepared for this. They only hoped that after the war, the price of goods would fall again. The merchants also began to get restless. One by one, they contacted their peers and asked if they should take advantage of this opportunity to stock up on goods. When the time came, they would raise the price and earn more from the difference. The small merchants gathered together to discuss. They felt that they should follow the previous rules, but they were not assured. They decided to find the bigger merchants, especially those on the top list of billionaires, to ask about the situation. Everyone could earn money together. In the city of Suzhou, on the eastern road of Jiangnan, in the Gu family's mansion, it was already late at night. The house was brightly lit. Electric lights hung high in the sky above each courtyard. The sound of the diesel generator roared endlessly as the servants in the house shuttled back and forth. The owner of the splendid General Trading Company, Gu Yunfei, was sitting in the middle of the hall. Orders to distribute goods came out of her mouth, and the sound of telegrams from the local telegraph office kept ringing. Pay attention to the prices of goods everywhere. If there are any fluctuations, order them to report it immediately. Don't allow the managers of the branches to change the prices of the goods sold in the branches at will. Set up our telegraph machine and be ready to receive news from the Monopoly Alliance at any time. After Gu Yunfei passed down a bunch of orders, she closed her eyes and thought for a while, then passed down a new order. She then picked up a bowl of soup on the table beside her, drank 2 mouthfuls, and let out a long breath. Starting at noon today, after the Jiangyin Reserve had taken action, she had not had time to rest. She was very clear on what the large cluster of warehouses in Jiangyin was used for. As long as there was a change there, it was definitely Zhang Xiaobao giving the order, and the war would inevitably begin. Thus, she did not have time to eat. She found the person in charge of the business in the house. After a discussion, they began to arrange the various matters of the splendid general trading company. Now, they had finally arranged everything that needed to be arranged. All that was left was to wait. Let's see what the Monopoly Alliance has to say. The Monopoly Alliance sounded like a purely commercial organization, and only merchants who entered the top ranking of billionaires had the right to join. But once one joined, one would discover that this alliance was not purely a commercial alliance. There were also members of the imperial court hiding behind the scenes. For example, the simplest method was to transport goods to places outside the Great Tang and exchange them with the local natives. If it was someone who had not joined the alliance, they would only know to gather the goods and do as they were told. But the information the merchants in the alliance would receive was the general climate of each place, the reefs in the sea along the way, and the regions where there might be storms. At the same time, they would also receive the sailing route of the Great Tang's patrol fleet, a special telegraph machine, and the corresponding password to contact the fleet. Who would believe that there was no imperial court behind the alliance? Let alone the password, even the telegraph machine would not be given to you to use. Most importantly, the chief steward sent out by the alliance would be given a pistol with 16 bullets and 2 magazines for them to carry on their bodies to protect themselves. At the same time, the stewards would be required to gather as much local intelligence as possible. This included what kind of animals and plants there were, what the structure of the local tribes were, and the doctors following the teams would report on the actual physical conditions of the members. Gu Yunfei knew from this that this was an imperial court operation under the guise of merchants. The purpose was to control all the influential merchants in the country. Moreover, she knew that ever since the Monopoly Alliance had been established, none of the merchants had ever been kicked out, even if they had made less money recently, or if they had done something wrong and lost money. Based on their wealth and status, they should have been kicked out of the alliance and replaced with someone better. But in reality, they had not been kicked out. On the contrary, they had received the support of the Great Tang Bank, and they had even been given interest-free loans. This meant that the imperial court did not wish for the merchants of the Monopoly Alliance to leave the alliance and tell others about the rules, so they could only help them when they made mistakes in their capital operations. And the merchants who entered the alliance would not suffer continuous losses. As long as they were given a little help, they would immediately be able to get back on their feet. Otherwise, they would not have been able to get on the list at the beginning. But other people could also enter, such as those rising stars. As long as their seniors were not kicked out, as long as their assets reached a certain level, they could enter the alliance, and their position on the list would change according to their assets. The only difference was that the list had only 100 people in the past, but now it had been expanded to 500. In theory, the top 200 had the qualifications to enter the alliance, but in reality, there were more than 300 people in the alliance. This meant that there were merchants whose positions on the list had changed, but they had not left the alliance. Gu Yunfei was patiently waiting for the imperial court to give the alliance an order. Then, she did not need to consider any other problems. Whatever the imperial court arranged, she and the others would follow. Even if the imperial court wanted the people of the alliance to donate all their assets, she could not object or even hesitate. Reporting, there are guests outside the residence. They say they are coming to Thunderbolt Logistics. This is a name card. While Gu Yunfei was thinking about the alliance, a coachman ran in from outside the hall, speaking as he handed over a name card. Gu Yunfei nodded and very casually took the name card. After opening it and glancing at it, she immediately stood up from her chair and ordered, "Come, open the main door and follow me to welcome them." Fei, who is it? An old man's voice came from the side hall. Father, you stay here. Your daughter will personally go over. It is the owner of Thunderbolt Logistics, Li Qingfang. The time is not right. He should be overseeing Luoyang. When did he come to our Suzhou? Gu Yunfei said to her father and shook her head. She walked out with confusion in her heart. She was truly confused. Looking at the time, if Li Qingfang had just received the news, or had received the news at noon, he should not have arrived in Suzhou in the blink of an eye. Luoyang was quite a distance from Suzhou. Even the train could not reach this speed. Unfortunately, the train tracks were only built from the south to the capital. There were very few other places that were built horizontally. If only it was built directly to Jianan Road. However, it was clearly not possible now. It was said that no less than 300,000 people had died building this railway. It was truly an inch of blood for every inch of track. Fortunately, the people who had died were all people from outside. The Tang people were also a bit like this, but that was accidental. It was just like how one could fall to death while walking. Very quickly, the main door of the Gu Manor was pushed open with creaking sounds. Li Qingfang, who was waiting outside with a few people, revealed a smile. He was truly afraid that this strong woman would only open the side door. What should he do then? No wonder this little girl felt that the sky of the Tang Empire was shrouded in a tense atmosphere since noon. So it was Boss Li who came at night. Welcome, welcome. Please come in. Gu Yunfei smiled when she saw Li Qingfang. She clasped her hands together and imitated the way a man greeted. Li Qingfang also smiled and returned the greeting. Is Boss Gu saying that I brought war? Thunderbolt Logistics and your splendid sundry goods are partners. I only bring peace and money, not war. Please. The two of them greeted each other and entered the Gu Manor. Naturally, there were people in charge of the arrangements for the people Li Qingfang had brought. Returning to the hall, Li Qingfang looked around and asked, I wonder if uncle is here. I would like to pay my respects. You didn't even bring a gift. Just pay your respects like this. My father is resting in the side hall. Let's talk business first. After we are done, I will wait for you to bring a gift and see my father. Gu Yunfei didn't want others to disturb her father. Her father's health wasn't good, especially at the beginning of spring this year. He fell ill and almost didn't make it. First, he had people use ginseng to keep him alive. Then, a telegram was sent out, and the Virtuous Medical College sent a team of experts. Only then was his life saved. Now, he was continuing to recuperate. This was one of the benefits of joining the alliance. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't be able to invite a team of experts. Li Qingfang revealed a regretful expression. He also heard that Gu Yunfei's father was sick, so he wanted to see the situation. He helplessly nodded and said, Actually, I did bring a gift. It's just that it wasn't convenient to send it over today. I brought 10 tons of hot spring water from Huaiyuan County. Tomorrow morning, I will have someone send it over. You can heat it up yourself and let Uncle soak in it. Really? Thank you. Now, let's talk business. Gu Yunfei said. Wei Wei was stunned. Although there weren't trains everywhere, they could still obtain useful information. Li Qingfang nodded and then shook his head. There are many train carriages now, but most of them are controlled by others. When I use Thunderbolt Logistics, I need to pay an extra sum of money. This makes me both love and hate it. I don't want to pay and use other methods of transportation, but I find that it costs more. However, I feel uncomfortable handing over the money. If Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan don't go to war this year and wait for 2 years to fight again and spend all their energy and money on building the railway, 2 years later, the number of carriages will increase, and my choices will also increase. I reckon that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan have no choice but to fight. I keep feeling that they are in a hurry. I don't know what is making them so anxious. They usually give people the impression that they are leisurely, but we can analyze from Xiaobei and the others' movements that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan are urging the progress of various things in Tang, even at the expense of many people's lives. Gu Yunfei was different from ordinary people. She needed to grasp the general situation of the country's development and then obtain her own benefits. Ordinary people only considered their own living situation. Who in their neighborhood made more money, whose family gave a generous betrothal gift at their wedding, whose family's children advanced a few ranks in the school examination, whose meat today was 1 copper coin cheaper, should they buy 2 caddies of stuffing or stir-fried vegetables and give the head of the household half a caddy of wine. Gu Yunfei didn't need to consider these small matters. What she needed to consider was that when a batch of goods came in, and this batch of goods wasn't the type that would be quickly consumed and needed to be stored, then what was the profit margin between the purchase price and the custom-made price when the goods were stored? Under the situation that the fixed price didn't change, what was the depreciation rate of the Tang currency over a period of time? Was there a new production technology for this type of goods that had already been purchased and stored? If there was a new production technology, then it meant that the production cost of this type of goods had decreased, and the price she bought would be more expensive. Faced with such a situation, should she sell the goods at a low price and clear the warehouse to stop losses, or should she continue to buy such goods at a low price to balance out the previous purchase cost? Or should she look for a deep processing technology for this type of goods and set up a company to process the goods before selling them? These were all problems, and the decisions of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had always affected the economic and administrative operations of the entire Tang dynasty. It was impossible for her not to pay more attention to it. Even if there was a slight fluctuation in profits, it would affect the profit and loss of tens of thousands of strings of coins. Li Qingfang had the same concerns. The transportation costs and unexpected losses in the transportation process determined the profits of his trading company. Hearing Gu Yunfei's words, he analyzed, "My guess is that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan want to use faster technology to ignite the conflict in the country in a short period of time. Then, they will use other means to resolve the conflict and at the same time, obtain more benefits. As for the purpose, I suspect that they are fighting for time with the other countries. They intend to ensure that the country has an absolute advantage in the industrial system and suppress the other countries, not giving them a chance to develop. Therefore, they are using human lives to build the railway. Now that they have stopped, I think that one reason is that there are not enough people to build the railway, and the other reason is that the smelting of steel can't keep up. They need to plunder to get slaves for dangerous jobs and obtain more resources." The more he thought about it, the more confused Li Qingfang became. He put himself in the position of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and found that there was only darkness in front of him. He couldn't see a bright future at all. "Don't think about it." Gu Yunfei seemed to know what Li Qingfang was thinking and advised, "If you can think clearly, you will be another Zhang Xiaobao. Do you think that the existence outside the top list of billionaires is just something that we merchants casually promote? If that's the case, the merchants of the Great Tang won't be afraid of Zhang Xiaobao. They can adjust the price of goods however they want. During the holidays, even if the price of goods is 10 times higher, even if the imperial court gives the order, the merchants still dare to do it secretly. They still have many ways to deal with the imperial court. But the current situation is that the imperial court is not saying anything. Facing us merchants, the imperial court means that you can raise the price if you want, as long as you are prepared to face Zhang Xiaobao's wrath. Do you dare? No. Li Qingfang shook his head vigorously. I'm afraid that Zhang Xiaobao isn't human at all. I think that in a few years, Xiaobei and the others will start to scheme. Why did Xiaobei ask you to come? Gu Yunfei suddenly remembered the matter of Xiaobei and the others' resources and couldn't help but smile. At that time, Xiaobei and the others had brought their own plans to discuss cooperation. Each and every one of them said that they didn't rely on their families and relied on their own abilities. When the merchants saw the plan, they all agreed. To be honest, the plan was not bad. But if it was only because of Xiaobei and the others, the merchants couldn't be at ease cooperating with them. They didn't have the qualifications. With a plan, why should they give the benefits to Xiaobei and the others? Wouldn't it be the same if the merchants worked together? The main problem was that they didn't have a leader. Once they worked together, no one would submit to the others. That was why they agreed to let Xiaobei and the others be the leaders. Behind them were Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Li Qingfang also had memories. He smiled and said, Xiaobei called and said that after the war, the logistics will definitely be affected. Whether we are willing or not, we have to serve the interests of the Tang Empire, even if it's free of charge. Next, the price of food will fluctuate, and basically, it will increase. Xiaobei and the others hope that they can help solve a part of the problem. Under the situation that the price of food is on the rise, Baby Candy House will stop selling. In other words, Baby Candy House will no longer sell cakes and candy made of starch. The 4,000 Baby Candy House chain stores in the Tang Empire will be ready at any time to see if any merchant dares to raise the price privately. At that time, we will first suppress them and then gather information so that we can prepare to implement the revenge punishment plan. When Li Qingfang said these words, his eyes were full of praise. He knew that this was definitely not requested by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Gu Yunfei and Wei Wei paused and then said, it finally shows the difference in education. When Xiaobei and the others think about problems, they are different from ordinary children. Then why did they ask you to come to Suzhou? They said that since Baby Candy House can't sell cakes, they need to use other things for the children to eat. They once cheated from Japan. Oh, they exchanged a lot of seafood, including abalones, sea cucumbers, and other things like fish slices. They put all of them in Haiyan County and asked me to transport them to various places. The big abalones are left for them, and the small ones can be distributed. They will improve the technology of deep processing seafood and make it into snacks suitable for children. Not only am I here, but Yang Yang of the Dongting Fishery Group is also here. He wants to go out from the estuary of the Yangtze River and then catch big squid according to the advanced technology provided by Xiaobei and the others. He will come back to process them. Li Qingfang said the purpose of his visit and then looked at Gu Yunfei. Gu Yunfei revealed a shocked expression. Chapter 12:18. Looking at Gu Yunfei's surprised look, Li Qingfang feels much better. He was also shocked when he first got the order. A group of little guys can silently cooperate with the actions of their brother and sister at this moment. How can other people's children be so good? Do you feel incredible? The legendary industry transformation happened to them. Due to the demand of the domestic situation, the Candy House Alliance changed from making and selling pastries and candies to selling seafood. They used all means to assist Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Now you know why I am here, right? Li Qingfang asks Gu Yunfei with a smile. Gu Yunfei takes a deep breath and nods, I know. Even if the alliance doesn't send the order, Jinqiu Grocery will follow their footsteps. Otherwise, before Zhang Xiaobao gets angry, they will start to revenge first. A group of children will not follow any rules when they take revenge, right? I think so. Who can guarantee that they won't use their identity as inspectors to ask the local government to cooperate when they find that they have no better way? At that time, even if you take the case to the emperor, the result will not change. According to His Majesty's previous words, when investigating the officials, they will say, "Why didn't they arrest other officials but you?" When facing businessmen, they will probably say, "Why didn't they bully other businessmen but you?" When Li Qingfang says it, he feels very interesting. A group of lawless children like Xiao Bei care about the Tang Empire very much, while those honest people may think about something else. Seeing that Thunder Logistics and Dongting Aquatic Products are involved, Gu Yunfei asks, "Can my business help?" "Maybe we don't need your business this time," Li Qingfang says uncertainly. Just as he finishes his words, a servant of the Gu family walks in quickly from outside the hall with a piece of paper in his hand. He glances at Li Qingfang and then at his master, waiting there. "Just say it directly. There are no outsiders here." Gu Yunfei doesn't want to ask Li Qingfang to go out, and it is also impolite to leave by herself. Thinking that there are no secrets to hide recently, she orders the servant who comes in. The servant nodded and flattened the paper in his hand as much as possible. He read, "Sister Yunfei from Splendid Grocery, I am Xiao Bei. I just got the news that my brother and sister decided to launch a full-scale attack on Duo Food at noon 3 days later. This attack was a probing attack and not an all-out attack. They would only use the advantage of artillery to destroy the enemy's frontline troops at the border and force the enemy to retreat. They would also adopt the strategy of scorched earth and cleared fields. Big Brother has already started to order the originally arranged warehouse to transport supplies to the front line. I want to tell Big Sister that when transporting supplies, whether it is by water or by land, there is a possibility that the transportation means will be damaged. There are tools in Sister's splendid miscellaneous goods, right? I hope you can provide support along the way and provide free help to the transport team. I will open up the candy house on the side of the road to provide them with a temporary place to rest. If this arrangement will cause losses to Splendid Embroidery, we will transfer the money to Elder Sister through the Great Tang Bank. Elder Sister only needs to provide proof of the losses. Also, we want to temporarily stop the sale of cakes and starch sweets and temporarily turn them into seafood products. We need tools to make and process them. Now, send an order to Elder Sister, and provide us with tools according to the order. We will pay when the goods are delivered. In addition, ask Splendid Miscellaneous Goods to release the news that my brother and sister did not use Chongpingsang's food reserves in this war, so that the people do not have to worry about the price of food rising too high. Okay, that's what I mean. The servant of the Gu family finished reading up to here and was in a very good mood. The intelligence actually said a lot of detailed things, and even revealed when the war would be launched. This showed that his master's position in Xiao Bei's heart was very high. Li Qingfang was indeed a little jealous. He said in a sour tone, "The war will start at noon 3 days later. I don't know if my Thunderbolt Logistics can help. I think a lot of supplies are already on the way." What he meant was that when the supplies were transported, they did not ask Thunderbolt Logistics and found someone else to transport them. He did not even know when the war would start. Gu Yunfei hesitated for a moment. For a moment, she did not know how to comfort the other party. This kind of information could only be obtained by Xiao Bei and the others, and it could be easily spread out. Whoever got the information would be trusted by Xiao Bei and the others. At this time, it was not good to comfort others, as it would make others feel that you were acting innocent. Just as she was organizing her words, someone came in from outside. This time, it was a servant of Li Qingfang's family. He was accompanied by someone from the Gu family. Little two, what's the matter? Li Qingfang looked at the person who came in and asked. Replying to Master, my family's telegraph machine just received a telegram from Xiao Bei and the others from Jianan Road. Do you know? Read it. Li Qingfang ordered in a carefree voice. In an instant, he looked at the pitch-black night outside and suddenly realized that the sky was so blue, the clouds were so white, the sun was shining, and the night wind that whistled past also became gentle. Gu Yunfei smiled and did not say anything. She could understand Li Qingfang's feelings. Without this telegram, he probably would not be able to sleep soundly at night. The servant of the Li family did not know that the master had just secretly crossed swords with the other party and had almost lost to the point of crying. When he heard the order, he loudly read it. Boss Li Qingfang. Today, we just received information that a large number of people from Thunderbolt Logistics have appeared in Suzhou. Have you arrived in Suzhou? Then you must go and see elder sister Yunfei. Let me tell you something. When we were eating dinner just now, we received definite information. 3 days later, at noon, we will begin the war. The logistics and transport teams used will all be my family's own strength. The majority of the dishes in the restaurants will be stopped, and the supply of grain wine will also be reduced. However, there will be more fruit wine. Elder brother and elder sister did not use your logistics. We guessed that they wanted to let you operate as usual to stabilize the flow of goods in the country. This decision was originally not a problem, but we thought of a problem. This problem is that we saw a railway route map in elder brother and elder sister's study. It has already been designed, but no one has been used to repair it. We have accurate information. To build that railway, a direct manpower of 1.2 million was used. Of which, 200,000 were Great Tang people. They were responsible for assisting and were not in dangerous places. The remaining 1 million were all captured, cheated, bought, and hired from other places. More than 376,000 people died in the construction of the railway. On average, for every 1 li, that is, 500 meters, 37 people died. In addition, there were 125,000 people who were seriously injured. The serious injuries we are talking about are those who have broken arms or legs, as well as those who are blind. If they can be treated, they are not considered serious injuries. The remaining people also need to rest. Otherwise, they will not be able to continue working. Thus, there is a shortage of manpower. In addition, there is not enough steel for the railway. Right now, most of it is used to make bullets and artillery shells. We thought about it and felt that it was a waste for your logistics to be placed there. Because you are usually responsible for long-distance transport, you have your own teams for short-distance transport. Thus, we discussed with Dong Long, the owner of the Wanlu Trading Company in Jianan Province's Yizhou Prefecture. We had them organize people to follow behind the army. You can cooperate with them and help transport some things. When there are captives on the battlefield ahead, you can kidnap them together. You don't have to settle with my brother and sister first. You just don't let the captives die. When my brother and sister are almost done, we will need to build the railway. You can send the captives here to work. At that time, according to the cost paid by each side, we will give you a certain amount of authorization for the carriage. If you agree, return the call and start working. There is one more thing that you have to keep secret first. The number of captives captured may not be the same as the ones in Tufan. There may be many on the sea. If you can unite with other merchants and form a large fleet, you can go to other places to deceive some people while you are fetching the captives. Well, that's all. Everything will be clear in the morning 3 days later. Let me remind you, no matter what you see that morning, don't get excited. Everything is under my control. The servant of the Li family stopped reading and then said, "It's over." After listening to the servant, Li Qingfang and Gu Yunfei fell silent at the same time. They were thinking about the matter in the telegram. There was too much content in the telegram, so they had to carefully consider it. After a while, Li Qingfang ordered, "Return the call and say that I agree. We will listen to the arrangements." After the servant left, Li Qingfang turned to Gu Yunfei and said, "I didn't expect that so many people would die or be injured from building the railway. Is this the reason why Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't agree to use the people of the Tang Empire? If the people of the Tang Empire really couldn't bear this kind of pain, what would they do if they were left with disabilities?" Gu Yunfei clasped her hands together. "It sounds like a number. If we use the people of the Tang Empire, it is estimated that 500,000 families will be directly affected. It's too scary. I have decided to listen to Xiao Bei's arrangements. As for the temporary losses, it doesn't matter. My family can still bear it. I'm really afraid that Zhang Xiaobao will use this kind of ruthlessness on me. It can't be said that his hands are stained with blood. He practically swam out of a sea of blood. He walks on the stairs piled up by corpses all the way to the sky. If not, he walks down to discuss matters with the King of Hell." Li Qingfang nodded and recalled the contents of the telegram. He said, "What does Xiao Bei mean by the sea? Could it be that there are troops on the sea to fight Duoshi? In the morning 3 days later, what news can there be? He told me not to be excited. I am very excited now, but I can't explain it clearly. Wait and see. 3 days will pass quickly. The Alliance used to react quickly, but this time, they haven't shared any information. We know some things, but we can't tell others. I won't arrange a guest room for you today. You should hurry to Haiyan County as soon as possible to avoid delaying the proper business." Gu Yunfei couldn't think of anything at all. The few steps in front of her were like a thick fog, making people feel fear of the unknown. She couldn't stop and could only follow orders and rush forward. "Okay, I will leave now." Li Qingfang didn't dare to delay. He got up and walked out, indicating that Gu Yunfei didn't need to send him off. When he reached the door, he said to Gu Yunfei, "We need to strengthen cooperation in the future. I plan to go to Jiannan Circuit personally." I will go too." Gu Yunfei meant to call her when she left. Chapter 12:19. Gu Yunfei had just sent Li Qingfang to the door. Before she could say goodbye, a group of people came from the road beside them. There were servants holding lanterns in front. Gu Yunfei took a look and recognized them. They were all local merchants from Suzhou. Normally, she did not have much contact with them. Most of the time, it was her housekeeper who met with them to discuss business matters. For example, Jinqiu needed to buy groceries, and local merchants needed to buy goods from other places. Usually, they would only meet once during the new year. They would all come to her house to give her gifts. Even though she was a woman, she was ranked 16th on the list of top billionaires. In the past, she was ranked 24th. Ever since she started working with Xiao Bei and the others, her assets had obviously increased a lot. Naturally, her status also rose along with the tide. And these people who came were not even in the top 500, so they had to be more respectful to her. "Boss Gu, we are really sorry to disturb you so late at night. But we have some misgivings in our hearts, so we have to trouble you." The group of people came closer. Surrounded by people, a middle-aged man spoke to Gu Yunfei with a face full of smiles. He then looked at the person beside him and asked, "This noble is, so it is Boss Yuan. It is not very late. If you have something to discuss, let's discuss it." This is the boss of Thunder Logistics, Li Qingfang, Boss Li. Gu Yunfei quickly showed that her status was higher than this group of people. She was not rude and introduced Li Qingfang at the same time. There was a series of gasps on the relatively quiet road. The merchants who had rushed over stared at Li Qingfang without blinking. This was the boss of Thunder Logistics, which was ranked higher than Boss Gu. No wonder Boss Gu personally saw him off. Birds of a feather flocked together, as expected. The merchants respectfully bowed to Li Qingfang again. There was only envy and admiration in their eyes. There was no jealousy because the difference was too great. So great that they could not produce a trace of jealousy. Boss Yuan, why have you come at this time? Come. Let's talk inside. Gu Yunfei gave way. She already had some guesses in her heart, so she asked now so that she could pull Li Qingfang to deal with it together. No, we're not going in. We're just here to ask. Gu Dongjia is busy, and we're not at ease. Only then did we remember Gu Dongjia's ability. We're here to ask, so we won't waste Gu Dongjia's time. The man with the surname Yuan politely refused. He also knew that he had to enter through the main entrance now. He didn't want to receive this kind of courtesy. One should eat as many bowls of rice as one's ability. He didn't have the ability to enjoy this kind of treatment. Once he did, the consequences would definitely not be good. Someone at the side chimed in, yes, we just want to ask around. Gu Dongjia, we feel that there is going to be a war soon. Gu Dongjia also knows that every time there is a war, the prices of goods in different places are different. We just want to know if our goods can be adjusted according to the law of the market demand. Gu Yunfei smiled. She looked at the man and said, what is the law of demand in the market? The demand of the market is the demand of the common people. I feel that the greatest demand of the common people is to live in a stable and happy environment, and not to see the price of survival necessities rise day by day, but not be able to afford them. This is the need of the people of the Great Tang, the need of our monopoly business alliance, and even Zhang Xiaobao's personal need. Do you understand? Understood. The merchants were completely frightened. Before they came, they were still thinking about what to hoard, what to raise the price of, and how much to raise it. Now, it was clear that they couldn't hoard anything. Even if they did, they couldn't raise the price. They didn't expect that the business alliance would not take advantage of this opportunity to make more money. Instead, they started to maintain the stability of domestic prices during wartime. Who would dare to go against the business alliance's orders? As for Zhang Xiaobao, there was no need to say more. His personal will was unconditionally followed by all the merchants of the Great Tang. So Xiaobao didn't agree to the price change. The man with the surname Yuan wanted to confirm. Zhang Xiaobao doesn't allow the price of the people's necessities to fluctuate too much at any time. Our monopoly business alliance follows his footsteps. If you really want to make more money, you can try to raise the price of other goods. Li Qingfang gave the merchants a suggestion. After all, merchants had their own needs. Moreover, Zhang Xiaobao never cared about the price of other things, especially luxury goods. If the cost was 1 copper coin, and one could sell it for 10,000 string of cash, that was because one had the ability. He just didn't want to see the people not being able to afford rice or wear clothes when they had enough resources. If the country had enough resources, there couldn't be too much fluctuation in the price of these 6 things. As for the other things, the merchants could do whatever they wanted. Linen cloth could be sold for 10 copper coins per bolt, but it couldn't be sold for 13 copper coins. But if one could sell silk for 10,000 copper coins per bolt, that was because one had the ability. When the hospital bought licorice, as long as the licorice wasn't so rare that it couldn't be used on every patient, the supplier couldn't sell it for too high a price. As for the tea leaves that could help with digestion, Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't say that you were wrong if you exchanged one caddy for a building. That, may I ask, can the price of candles be raised? Isn't it also something that should be used for people's livelihood? Another merchant carefully asked. You can raise the price of candles. People won't die without candles, but I advise you not to hoard candles because the Ministry of Works will release a lot of paraffin wax this month. What you are talking about now should be grease wax. It can't be compared to paraffin wax in terms of smell and longevity. Once you hoard it and release a lot of paraffin wax, you will suffer a lot of losses. Li Qingfang kindly advised. Xiao Bei had already told him that he would first ship a large batch to Jiannan Road. There, Xiao Bei would organize people to process it. The rest of the paraffin wax would be placed in various places in Great Tang. After all, the current oil refining technology was the most primitive. A lot of paraffin wax was produced every day. As long as oil was processed, paraffin wax would appear. Then, people would have to spend a lot of effort to clean it up. Otherwise, it would affect the production. The perverted merchant who asked the question was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, he had asked. Otherwise, if he really had to hoard candles, the losses would be huge, especially now that the weather was getting hotter. After repeatedly thanking him, the group of merchants left. They could go back and do business as usual. When the time came, the price of various things would naturally follow a regular pattern. They didn't need to worry about it. Gedongjia, I'll leave now. Tomorrow morning, it's better for the business alliance to issue an announcement to the merchants in various places, so as to prevent them from self-righteously raising the price and causing more losses to themselves. Li Qingfang said to Gu Yunfei and then disappeared into the night with his subordinates. Gu Yunfei stood there and pondered. She muttered to herself, there will be a lot of paraffin wax released. I'll send a batch of it. When the weather is hot, paraffin wax can be stored better than grease wax. There's no need to worry about it. In Hongnong County, Old Willow Village, the 7th grade official Lu Feifei also received a telegram tonight. Compared to other places, Old Willow Village was special because it was directly under the jurisdiction of the Agriculture Temple. Moreover, the villagers were united. In addition, there was only one iron cable bridge to enter the village. Therefore, they had a separate telegraph machine. Usually, there were at least 4 people guarding the machine room of the telegraph machine 24 hours a day in the village. No outsiders were allowed to come close. Not to mention the machine room, it was difficult to even cross the bridge. There was a small hydroelectric generator near the river in the village to provide power for the village. There were simple shellers and flour grinders in the village. There was also a cutting machine for processing willow branches. There were more light bulbs. At night, the light bulbs placed on the bank would illuminate the opposite bank. With so many advanced equipment, how could they let outsiders come in and see? What if they were robbed? Let me make models. When the time comes, the paraffin wax can be turned into all kinds of fun candles. Mainly in the image of little dolls, including the design of various animals and houses. When they are made into candles, they can be sold together with the grass seed dolls. Also, make a lot of willow ware and prepare to provide to the transport team. This was the content of the telegram Lu Feifei received. Xiao Bei didn't tell her about the war, so it was not her turn to worry. Feifei, the telegram said to let you prepare to make new dolls. The old villager had to patrol the vicinity of the telegraph machine room for 3 hours every day. Every time a message was sent and received, he had to participate and help to provide the solution. After all, he was a scholar and had good knowledge. The teachers in the school and the village were all personally taught by him. He was a little pedantic. He always wanted to protect his identity as a scholar. However, there was also a benefit. Scholars like him now had backs as strong as iron. If he needed to pick up a sword and a gun to fight, he might not be the most powerful, but he was definitely the most heroic. When the country was rising and falling, escaping was not the choice of a true scholar. He would pull out the sword at his waist and fight to the end with the demeanor of the 6 arts of gentlemen. Therefore, he was the most idle and the busiest person in the world. He would meddle in everything, but at the same time, he would not care about anything. He was like an old hen. As long as the chicks were fine, he would lie under the sun and enjoy the warmth of life, cooing from time to time. But when the chicks were in danger, he would stand up and despise all opponents. He would fight with his life until the enemy fled or he fell down. Now he just wanted to take care of something, especially when the telegraph machine finally rang. Lu Feifei respected this old hen very much. When she heard the old villager ask, she nodded and answered, yes. Xiao Bei said that he would send a lot of paraffin wax. At the same time, he asked us to make more wicker baskets. In the future, we will need them when we transport a large number of other things. He didn't mention when the war will start. The old villager was actually most concerned about the national affairs. No, the war has nothing to do with me. I only care about the trade of willow and the planting of willow trees in the surrounding areas. My official position is to prevent others from bullying me. If anyone sees the high income of willow in our village and wants to get benefits from it, he should first think about how a child like me can be a 7th level official. In the whole Tang Empire, except for Xiao Bei's official position, my official position can scare a lot of other local officials. Grandpa, now arrange people to make a large number of willow baskets. Xiao Bei said that they will be used soon. Lu Feifei planned to implement Xiao Bei's words. The old villager narrowed his eyes and thought for a moment. He nodded and said, so, the war is close at hand. Well, it's time for the 5th watch. For the time being, I have kept 500 full attendants. I guess this money is the most difficult to earn because there are not many subscriptions for this book, so there is no need to count on subscriptions. Then, there is only the full attendance left. If there were not still people subscribing, I would have given up. But as a web writer, I think I am also a scholar. Like an old hen, I have to have some spirit to protect what I should protect. I am pedantic, but I also have a backbone. So, I never ask. I sell my words, not my personality and dignity. So, you should take the initiative to vote. Don't wait for me to ask, because you can't wait. Chapter 12:20. The time of the bombardment was getting closer and closer. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were staying in Idyll, seemed to be more leisurely. Zhang Xiaobao patiently made mutton soup and shumai for his younger siblings in the morning, along with cold dishes made of mutton tripe and mutton liver. His younger siblings were stunned when they saw this. Brother, we're going to war. Xiao Bei ate a shumai. Her mouth was full of oil, and she reminded her brother in a muffled voice. Yes. Zhang Xiaobao wiped his sister's mouth with a napkin. Then he took out a mutton bone from the pot, cracked it, and put the bone marrow on Xiao Bei's plate. While cracking the bone marrow for the other 8 little guys, he said, that's why you have to let others feel your ease and confidence. Then why does my sister look so serious? Xiao Bei sprinkled some bamboo salt on the bone marrow and waited for her brother's answer. Because your sister is a soldier. Soldiers have solemnity and iron blood as their foundation. I'm a schemer, so I pretend to be calm and collected. These two performances give others the same feeling, which is steady. They say that the army is approaching, but your sister needs to let others know that she will hold on until the last moment. As for me, I want to let others feel less nervous. Zhang Xiaobao said the two different performances with a smile. What about actually? Xiao Bei still asked. In fact, your sister and I are very afraid. But we are afraid that we can't solve the problem. Since we chose this position, we have to bear the responsibility of this position. If everyone in the Tang Empire can bear their own responsibilities, the Tang Empire will be invincible. Zhang Xiaobao was very fast. In just a few words, he had already finished cracking the bone marrow for each little guy. Xiao Bei stared at the bone marrow on her plate. She was very confused and murmured, "What responsibility should I bear?" You need to think about it yourself. Even if I tell you directly, you may not agree. Eat, or it will get cold. After Zhang Xiaobao finished speaking, he drank a mouthful of mutton soup, smacked his lips, and poured pepper into the bowl. In the future, I won't ask anything when we eat. The more I ask, the more I think. The food won't taste good. Xiao Bei was very good at self-analysis. After eating the bone marrow, he realized that he was missing the process of carefully tasting it. The other 8 little fellows heard Xiao Bei's words and realized that they were the same. They all began to adjust their mentality and put their attention on the food in front of them. Wang Wan pursed her lips and smiled at the side. She liked to see Zhang Xiaobao at this moment the most, teaching his younger brother and sister in a silent way. Even the action of tapping the bone marrow and the tone of voice when he spoke required great effort from Zhang Xiaobao to control it. However, his performance was just as he had said just now, calm and collected. In her eyes, at this moment, Zhang Xiaobao was the most handsome, even more handsome than when he was scheming. After dinner, Zhang Xiaobao said to his brothers and sisters, "I'll go with your sister to analyze the information. You guys can play by yourselves. You can go out, but you're not allowed to leave Idyll City. There are many spies in the city, so you don't have to worry about someone suddenly rushing out and hurting you." While waiting for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to go to another room, Xiao Bei whispered, "Okay, we definitely won't put ourselves in a dangerous place." After a while, the 9 little fellows finished eating the fruits after dinner. They looked at each other and didn't know what to do. "Can I ask what our responsibilities are?" Lil Bei brought up the matter again. "It's to build the Tang Empire, right?" Xiao Yuan said uncertainly. "If you give me 1 less coin, I'll report it to the authorities and say that you have other ideas about us." Xiao Bei took out a handful of coins, counted them, and threw them on the stall. Then, she happily picked up the bamboo building, called out to little Yuan, and walked forward. The seller was stunned for a while. He did not know what to do. He did not want to take advantage of the child, but he was worried that he would be sued. Even when Xiao Bei and the others were far away, he still had a worried expression on his face. At this moment, little Yuan asked Xiao Bei, "Why did you give him so much money? We're not those spoiled brats who don't know what's good for them. Don't you know the value of a bamboo building? It doesn't matter how much the bamboo building is worth. What's important is that the seller's middle finger is injured. There's a cloth tied to it, and the cloth is tied into a beautiful bow. Do you think he's still a child?" Xiao Bei pointed out the injury on the seller's middle finger. "It can't be, right? The bow will affect his carving," little Yuan analyzed. "That's right. So, this beautiful bow must have been tied by his daughter. What's wrong with me giving him more money to buy something good for his daughter?" Xiao Bei said confidently. "That's right. Anyway, 30 coins isn't much. The bamboo building's carving is indeed very exquisite. Little Yuan agreed with Xiao Bei's statement. The other kids had no objections. It was just a matter of spending a little more money. It was just like the rich people who worked with others at home in a supermarket chain. They habitually threw the few coins they found into the donation box at the door, and then picked up a beautiful colored origami that was placed next to them. That origami was not worth a single coin at all. It was very quick to make by hand, and the cost of the paper itself was also very low. However, after throwing money and picking up an origami, the harvest was a happy feeling. Of course, there were donation boxes only at the door of the Zhang family's and Wang family stores. Even if they were made in other places and placed there, no one would throw money at them. No one believed in their quality. Ah, the candy blower. Quick, let him blow a little pig. Xiao Bei's eyes looked around. Suddenly, he found that there was a candy blower on the left side of the road in front of him. He put the pole there to make candy for the two children, so he ran over happily. I want a little pig this big. While Xiao Bei said, little pig, he gestured a shape the size of a football with his hands. The candy blower looked at Xiao Bei's hand and shook his head. If it's too big, you won't have any strength. Oh, let me blow. Yes, I can eat it myself. If you blow it and blow your saliva in, I can only play with it and throw it away. Xiao Bei understood this very well. He reduced the distance between his hands and made it as big as a glaze. At this time, the candy blower nodded. He took a bamboo slice and stirred it twice in the pot of thin sugar. Then, he reached into the bowl with starch and rubbed it. He used the bamboo slice to scoop out a piece of thin sugar and quickly rolled the thin sugar on his hands, making it stick to the starch. Then, he gently took out a small bamboo tube from the bamboo box next to him and inserted one end into the thin sugar. He signaled Xiao Bei to blow it in front of him. Be gentle. You have to breathe evenly. The candy seller patiently said to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei nodded, puffed up his cheeks, and began to blow. The candy seller's hands moved. After Xiao Bei breathed in 3 times, a beautiful and cute little pig appeared in front of Xiao Bei. The candy seller's 2 fingers gently pinched the back of Xiao Bei's head, sealing the little pig's mouth. Ah, I'm so tired. Uncle, what if the child doesn't know how to blow? Xiao Bei asked when he saw the candy blower throw the bamboo tube he had just blown into another box and stick the little sugar pig with a bamboo stick. Ordinary children are fine. Children who are too young have adults by their side and let them blow. In the past, there weren't so many rules and we were the ones who blew. Later, medical centers all over the country said that directly blowing is not good for the child's health. Now, the children of Great Tang are precious. In the end, if the child still can't play, I can only draw it for him. I'll use sugar to draw what he wants and stick it on a bamboo stick. It can also be eaten. Look, the flat bamboo board on the side is used for drawing. We are willing to go through the trouble if we can avoid hurting the beautiful children of Great Tang. While speaking, the candy seller stretched out 2 fingers, meaning that the candy was worth 2 copper coins. Xiao Bei directly threw down 5 copper coins and said to the candy seller, Uncle, I think you are very beautiful too. After saying this, Xiao Bei ran forward again, leaving behind the confused old man who shouted, This is 5 copper coins, not 2 copper coins. You plan to be the child of wealth today, right? Xiao Yuan asked when he saw that Xiao Bei liked to give more money to others. It's a virgin. Comrade Xiao Yuan, please don't blindly change my gender. I'm not giving away money, but recognition. I'm receiving sweetness. Don't you think that Great Tang is very beautiful when you see them? Xiao Bei said to Xiao Yuan like a philosophical person. I think you are very beautiful. You have always been like this. Xiao Yuan was very afraid that Xiao Bei would bully him, so he quickly flattered him, just like how a brother always praised his sister. The sister clearly knew that her brother sometimes did not mean what he said, but she was very happy every time. Ah, now I don't have to rush to give away money. There is a place in front that specializes in collecting money. Let's go and take a look and see what's inside. Xiao Bei first gave Xiao Yuan a bright smile, then pointed to a house with a sign in front. It was a gambling house. Under Xiao Bei's gaze, 2 people had already entered. Gambling is not good, Xiao Yuan advised. Wrong, it's not good to gamble privately. Buying lottery tickets is not a problem. I don't know if the gambling house collects a lot of taxes. We can't let them take advantage of us. Sigh, this is human nature. We always want to reap without sowing. I'll also experience it today. Chapter 12:21. When Xiao Bei arrived at the entrance of the gambling house and was about to step in, 7 people squeezed in groups of 3 or 4. After Xiao Bei and the others entered, more than 10 people in different outfits followed them in. I thought we were going to gamble. I didn't expect there to be a place to drink tea. When Xiao Bei entered the house, he found that there was no one shouting or gambling. Instead, there were many people drinking tea in a room that looked like a hole. They seemed to be in a good mood from the way they talked and laughed. Smelling the tea in the air, Xiao Bei finally found that his nose was not always sensitive. At least, he couldn't distinguish the type of tea that others were drinking. The curtain leading to the back was lifted from the inside, and a person with a red face walked out. He greeted the others with a smile, found a place to sit, and ordered someone to serve tea. Xiao Bei didn't understand and stood there thinking. Xiao Yuan saw it and whispered, "Those who win money and don't care about winning or losing come out to drink tea and eat snacks. Those who care about winning or losing and lose should leave from the back." Why should we leave from the back? It's only proper to walk in front. Xiao Bei couldn't understand. Who knows? Let's go. Don't you want to see what it looks like inside? Let's go in. Xiao Yuan found that more than 30 people had come in from outside in a short time. She guessed that the secret guards were in place. She pulled Xiao Bei and walked in with a person who was walking in the back. When they went in, they found that it was not a place to gamble, but an alley. After walking for about 30 steps, they finally heard the noise of shouting. The 9 little fellows and the 6 bodyguards followed the sound and entered. This time, it was bustling with noise and excitement. There were all kinds of people dressed up, and there were even a few who shamelessly bared their arms. They began to look around. The hall was not small, and it was connected to other halls. There were many gambling devices, such as mahjong, poker, pai gow, billiards, shaking balls, and so on. How shameless! The things that Big Brother made for entertainment have all been copied by them. Look, there's a chess and go game over there. Where did the dice go? Xiao Bei curled his lips. He felt that the people in the gambling house should first pay a patent fee. Let's go. I like the dice game in Big Brother's story the most. Xiao Bei got excited and walked to the right. When they entered, the smell of sweat and mud assaulted their nostrils, causing the 9 little fellows to hold their breath for a moment. After a while, they slowly breathed in and adapted to the smell. Only then did their senses feel better. This room was filled with dices. There were people from the gambling house who were the dealers, people who took turns to be the dealers, and there were also people who were 2 people, 3 people, and so on. There were no dealers, and they only competed on the size of the dice. The 9 of them were first brought to a table arranged by a dealer who was dressed in green and had both his sleeves rolled up. He looked very standard. With his sleeves rolled up, it was to let others know that he was not hiding any dice. The more you buy, the more you lose. The less you bet, the less you earn. Once you're done, leave. The dealer put the 3 dice into the colored cup and shook it for a while. Then, with a flip of his wrist, he turned the colored cup upside down on the table and shouted to the people around him. This table only had the size of the dice, and there was no specific number of points on it. Xiao Fang was very puzzled. The more you buy, the more you lose. Does that mean that if we buy, we will lose? No, it means that if we win, he will pay us more. If we bet less and win, we will earn less. In fact, what they are shouting is that they want us to lose more. It's a common saying. For example, in a pawn shop, if you bring a new piece of clothing, they will immediately shout, bitten by insects and rats, broken thread, faded color and missing edges. Although the specific purpose is different, there must be a rule. Xiao Hai explained to Xiao Fang, meaning that the gambling house wanted to be auspicious. Who wants to go first? Xiao Bei took out 5 copper coins from his bag. Each coin was 1 copper coin, so there were 5 in total. He asked the other 8 people. Seeing that the others shook their heads at almost the same time, Xiao Bei eagerly said, "If you guys don't want to go first, then I will." After the dealer shook another round, Xiao Bei immediately put 1 copper coin in the small place. The others also put in their coins. There were also people watching at the side, in case they did not put in their coins and said that they had let go. Before the gambling cup was picked up, Xiao Bei's ears were buzzing from the other people's shouts. The shouts of small and big almost passed through the tent. Everyone was shouting at the top of their lungs, as if the louder they shouted, the more accurate they would be. When the gambling cup was picked up, the 3 dice below were revealed. 4, 4, 5, big. Xiao Bei watched as her 1 copper coin was taken away. He smacked his lips twice, his face filled with heartache. "If you can't take it, let's not play, okay?" Xiao Yuan softly persuaded, "Don't be unable to sleep at night because of losing a few copper coins. I didn't see you frown when you gave them more money just now. It's different. When I gave the money, I was willing to give it. Now, I don't want to lose. I want to win. Outside, I was happy when I gave the money away. Here, I only feel happy when I get the money back. Now, I'll give you a task. Think of a way to let me win." Xiao Bei was very stubborn about the 1 copper coin she lost. She wanted to win it back and then win more to comfort her hurt heart. Xiao Yuan shook his head vigorously. "I don't have a way. Why don't we find someone to ask? Look, there's a child beside you. Why don't they go to school and help others get money and introduce them? You count the days yourself. Today is the school rest day set by my brother. Every 3 days, there's a rest day. Otherwise, the child will lose interest in learning. Of course, most children are good. In order to stand out, they usually study very hard. If they haven't suffered the hardship of not being able to afford to study, they won't experience the blessing of studying." Xiao Bei spoke as if she had experienced the vicissitudes of life. She was used to speaking like this. As for whether she really understood, it was not important. Xiao Yuan cooperated. "Yes, so it's useless to regret after losing it. It's better to cherish the person in front of you." Okay, I'll cherish it. Especially the opportunity to bully others. If I don't take advantage of the opportunity to bully others, what should I do when I can't bully them in the future? Bet. What are you betting this time? Xiao Yuan was very wise and no longer sought her status in the family. Last time, I lost. This time, I'll bet again. I don't believe it. Xiao Bei took another copper coin and pressed it on the small button. Put your bets away. 3, 4, 5, big. Eat small and lose big. With a clatter, Xiao Bei's copper coin was returned to the other party. Xiao Bei lowered her head and thought for a while. When she raised her head, she muttered, "That's too much of a bully. Brother, help me." Didn't brother say that all gambling houses don't welcome mathematicians? Even if that gambling house says that it's impossible to calculate the rules of the game, it's still the same. Xiao Bei was naturally talking about Xiao Hai. When she said brother, it was Zhang Xiaobao. Xiao Hai's eyes were fixed on the dealer. He did not pay attention to the big and small numbers on the table or the dice. When he heard his sister's question, he helplessly shook his head and said, "No, in theory, the chances of big and small are the same. Normally, we can win, unless our luck is very bad. This is because we only need to look at the numbers of the bets on the table. The side that bets the least amount of money each time has the highest chance of winning. However, there is a problem here. The dealer's rule is that if 3 of the same number of points are the same, they will win. 1 die is divided into 3 and 4 points, 2 dice are divided into 6 and 7 points, and 3 dice are divided into 9 and 10 points. Because the smallest number of 3 dice is 3, there are 2 fewer chances. It is impossible for a 2 and 1 to appear, unless it is the special shaking method in Brother's story. Therefore, in theory, the probability of betting big is higher than betting small. But the dealer also understands this principle. Therefore, when he is shaking the dice, if his skill is good, he will have to take into account his artificial factors. How do you want me to calculate? How would I know the dealer's psychological preference? I have been observing him all this time and found that his eyes are always so indifferent. No matter if it is a big loss or a big gain, I can't detect the slightest change in his expression. Xiao Bei blinked her eyes and said, "It is good to have a good brother. At least we know where the problem lies." So it is the dealer's problem. He is playing a psychological game with us. I guess that he is also calculating. He is calculating the thoughts of the people around the table who are participating in the gambling. He is calculating the profession and personality of each of them. According to this, I won't be able to get my 2 copper coins back today. Really, if I had known, I wouldn't have bet. The landlord doesn't have any extra food. Xiao Bei continued to worry about the 2 copper coins she lost. I'll do it. Zhang Chang's eyes narrowed. He then found a child who worked at the gambling house and bought a normal dice from him. Zhang Chang held the dice in his small hand and came to the table. He took out 4 copper coins and bet them on small. Place your bets. 4, 5, 6, big. Eat small and lose big. The dealer picked up the dice cup and shouted. He did not shout "eat all," which meant that even if the table was shaken with a 1, 2, 3, they would not lose. Zhang Chang did not care. When the dealer finished shaking the dice again, he took out the dice he bought and casually threw it on the table. It was a 4, so he took out 8 copper coins and bet on big. The dealer opened the cup. 1, 3, 2, small. Eat big and lose small. Zhang Chang's 8 copper coins were gone. He continued to wait for the dealer to shake. When the dice cup fell, he took out 16 copper coins and continued to shake the dice in his hand. It was a 2, small. He put 16 copper coins on small. The dealer opened the cup and Zhang Chang lost again. His luck was really bad. However, Zhang Chang did not give up and continued to do so. The amount of money he bet began to change. After a few times, he had bet 4,096 copper coins. There were notes and coins. This amount of money was not small. Many people's monthly wages could not reach this level. The dealer's forehead was sweating. He had already seen that the child who bet money was definitely not from an ordinary family. They did not care about money at all. Of course, his boss was not afraid of them, but he could not always shake out a leopard every time. If he really did that, once the child came home and told him, he would be dragged to a secluded place one night within 3 days. Then he would be buried in the ground or drowned in a river. If he did not shake out a leopard, he could only rely on his years of experience to guess the other party's character and choice when betting. But the problem was that the other party's choice was the size of the dice they threw. He could control the size of the dice he shook, but how could he know if the other party threw a big or small one? The dealer trembled and his eyes began to look elsewhere. He wanted to find the adult who came with the child. As long as he found the adult, it would be easy. He could continuously shake out small. Even if his luck was bad, he believed that he could still lose once. At most, he would lose 4 copper coins. For example, the next round was 8,192 copper coins. After losing, the child had already lost 8,188 copper coins. Overall, he would lose 4 copper coins. He would just treat it as playing with the child. Otherwise, he would not be able to bear it. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.